Next thing. Let's see. What do we have? Could I do hired hands with mounted teleporter ending death? All right, everyone wants to know about that, and I kind of do too. This one is probably going to be a rabbit hole. So let's read exactly. Hired hands. Well, there's a lot to this. So I'm going to start by introducing the glitch, like as it works mechanically. Now, my understanding of this glitch is if you have a mount that has a lower entity ID than the player, you can perform an input on the last frame of the level as it's fading out. And that means you can, like, throw items, you can use a teleporter, I think you can jump off the mount as well. So we're going to have to get really good at figuring out when that frame is. And then see how we can weaponize that. It'd be a frame-perfect trick that would require a mount to spawn in the level that you're doing it with. Or you need a co-op player to give you a mount with a lower entity ID. So I'm trying to think, well, how do we get a guaranteed mount in the... like, with a lower entity ID? And all I could think is to maybe, like, just go to the Yang level constantly. So let's see how that goes. We have God mode back on. This is not the Yang level. Nice shot. Boy, I wish I could get these when I actually speedrun this game. So this should be the Yang level. Alright, so we have a mount with a lower entity ID than Valerie. We probably don't need Rafi for any of this, but I'm going to keep him alive just in case. Neobab Zoos, yeah, that's another good one, actually. Yeah, they have natural mounts. The problem is they're very hard to extract from the zoo without just dying, so it's not really useful. I think I'll just go for the easy turkeys. So yeah, fucked up the camera, hold on. Camera, please, lock on to Valerie. There we go. Alright, let's see. Can hired hands holding mount make those lower? I actually checked that, like, earlier, not like today, but I checked that when that, like, became news, when that showed up on the Science Channel. It's actually infuriating. The hired hands spawn before the player, but their held items spawn after the player. It's actually, like, incredibly disappointing. But your hired hands cannot bring an entity into the level with a lower ID than the player because their held items spawn after the player does, even though the hired hands actually spawn before you. I don't know why. It's just, they just did that. They probably did that to manipulate, like, the pickup priority on all the entities. But the result is that we can't really get anything with a lower ID than the player in without, like, player 2 bringing it in for them. That we know of. There's always possibilities, but I checked a lot of permutations and couldn't get it to work. Can random turkeys spawn in Hunden? I have no idea, and that's, like, kind of a brute force question that I don't know if I could answer, like, with any degree of confidence. I could spawn a shitload of Hunden levels with the Yang quest to see if it works. My guess is no. But I could be wrong. It's such a rare circumstance that I may have never seen it happen. So, this glitch here. Let's see, how do we want to do this? I don't want to do teleporter just yet, so I'm going to just, like, do it with a freeze ray or something. So I can just shoot and make an action happen on the last frame when I'm leaving the level. So the first question is, how do I tell that I'm on the last frame of leaving the level? I don't know how the game times this information. It might be part of, like, the player's animation state. So let me see if we can use that as proper information here. So let's see, what would we need to look at? I think I need my toolbox for this. I hope this isn't broken. I think this works. Alright, so let's see, we're gonna do that. Entity tester. And we're gonna lock it to player 1. This is the feature that might not work. Okay, good, this is actually working. Let's see, I think only movables have the field I want. Stand counter, okay, it's not stand, okay, idle counter I think is a bad name for this, for a variable that basically says how long you've been in a particular state. And the state that we're currently in right now, oh, actually we need to track it for the turkey, but the state that we're in right now is entering a door. So let's see, the turkey is 3996. Alright, this is the entity we actually need to force it to. Alright, so the turkey should be in, like, an entering door, like, animation state right now. State, yeah, entering. Okay, so when the turkey is done entering this door is the thing that we're interested in. When does that happen? So I might miss it on this particular occasion. But we're looking at idle counter right now. Let's see. It's very close, but I don't know which frame it's going to do it on. I think it's going to be next frame, so let's just try 35. So I'm going to try to shoot the freeze right now on this particular frame. I didn't mean to do that. Just going to shoot it. Nothing happened. Okay, I missed it. 36 and then 37 was it. So it's about 40 frames. If it's HD, it's like 50. Everything in HD is slow. It looks like it's on frame 37 that the game transitions to entering it. But that might have to do with how long it took me to walk to the center of the door. I didn't see if this idle counter thing like reset at that point. We missed the frame that we could do it on though. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try it on the next level. So I need to go back to... Let's see, how can we do this? I mean, I could just try to set the Yang quest and hope a turkey spawns. What I really need to do is add a feature to this toolbox that can guarantee an entity spawn before the player. I guess for now, Rafi is actually useful. We're going to have Rafi bring it. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking there. We're going to have Rafi bring it to me in each level, and I just have to get it out of his hands at the start. So it doesn't really matter what level we're on anymore. He's not going to drop it because he doesn't have God mode on. Let's see. Rafi's inputs are so hard to remember sometimes. Alright, so Turkey, 3675. Valerie, 3677. So we have a turkey which we, in theory, should be able to do this glitch with. Assuming it doesn't die. I don't know how much health the turkey... I don't know how much health the turkey can actually transfer between levels. But for now, it has 97 health. So let's see here. Hold on, I need to murder something that's making noise up there. Alright, so let's see now. So let's watch these variables again. I don't have an entity selected for the turkey right now, and it's hard to set those up, so I'm just going to type it in. So if I start entering the door now, what happens? Stand counter resets. Oh, but it doesn't actually change it when I go into the, like, proper door entering animation. And I don't know if there are any other variables that track that information. Yeah, idle counter didn't reset. Okay, we have a different way that I can do this. But it's gross, but I mean, we're used to gross things. So let's look at the color data instead, because we know that the entity fades to black. So if I could figure out which color value corresponds to the last frame. Okay, that one. And then I think I can't do anything anymore because I can also open this up. I think we are already fading out. What state are we in? Where's our loading? Yeah, we're already fading out. Alright, so I needed to hit the frame right before that. Don't worry, chat. This will be smoothed out once I figure out the timing for this, but I need to figure out the timing first. So again, we have Rafi going to the level with the turkey in hand. And he puts it down for us because he's so thoughtful. You know what, maybe... Well, no, actually, you can't go through layer doors with mounts. I was about to say, maybe I could use a layer door for this, but mounts are too big, apparently. Because we can't have fun. Alright, so let's try this one more time. Hopefully I got it this time. I think I know when I need to do the input. So I think it's 30 frames to enter a door in this game, if you're perfectly centered. I can actually check that. Like, as we go along, I could also check what the counter is. Alright, so we got the turkey again. 2, 3, 5. Actually, it's not quite 30, is it? No, it is 30. Yeah, that looks like 30. Or wait a minute. No, hold on. What is the number here? What fraction is that? I need to invert that. 36. Okay, yeah, it is 36. Okay, you know what that fraction is? Yeah, I didn't know what that was off the top of my head. Yeah, okay, it is 36 frames, and I must have been really close to the door when I was doing that first test, because we have to account for the walking time, but once you get to the door, it's 36 frames, and then on frame 37, I think, is when we go in. So let's see, what I say was 0.0277. So I know you meant to have a 0 there. So I think this is the frame where I need to try to shoot the freeze ray. Let's see if it works. Yeah, okay, so this is the glitch. You can't normally do this as just a player on the ground, but you have like the end of the frame after the turkey goes into the door and sets the flag. Hello, Ted Cuddy. After the turkey sets the flag for the level to fade out, the rest of the entity state machines will actually execute in this state. And what that allows you to do is you, the player who has a higher entity ID and are not responsible for entering the door, you do not get your inputs locked out by your door entering animation, and your mount has already finished entering the door, and that allows you to actually do something on that frame. I don't know exactly like what the frame order or what the order is within the frame, like what states change that unlock your ability to do things, but you are able to do something on that frame. Like I think the turkey going into the door like unlocks your player controls or something, whereas normally when you're in the entry animation you wouldn't be able to move until your mount was finished. So that wasn't very interesting. I was able to spawn a freeze ray shot for one frame, and the freeze ray shot like isn't even rendering right now because it didn't actually finish like spawning in. Like the game spawned in the freeze ray shot, and then on the next frame it didn't resolve the shot. It didn't like complete it, because essentially any entity that gets spawned on a given frame has to like do a little post-processing of some sort, and then on the next frame it comes into like full existence. Again, that's another thing I don't fully understand, but you got to take my word for it. So 3485, we should see it missing the finished spawning flag if I'm correct about this. I can't interact with that. I don't know if Dragu, if you're lurking here, for some reason you cannot interact with this menu while you're fading out anymore, which is weird. I'm not sure why that got broken, but we can go look at the freeze ray shot from here. Do a plasma cannon. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to spawn the plasma shot, and then the fade out is going to trigger, and then nothing else is going to happen. Let me make a note actually to report that over Lucky Bug. That might be new. I think that might be a consequence of some other change to make the UI like stop eating inputs when it's not supposed to. So I'm going to make a note about that real quick. Won't let you view entities during fades. Okay, there we go. But anyways, we can check the flags on this object here. So I think it's in more flags. They're actually not interesting. They're not named in this particular UI. But it has flag 7 and not 8. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the next level and and pick literally any entity. So the flag it didn't have was... Oh, it had done spawning. Oh, interesting. You know what? I wonder if it finished spawning at the end of the frame then. Maybe I was wrong about that. It did finish spawning, but it doesn't start rendering until the next frame. Okay, I was incorrect about that. It did actually have this flag right here, but there's some voodoo that the game does with these two flags when you spawn in entities. Usually it doesn't matter. Sometimes it does. I know I have P1 selected. The freeze ray shot's gone. I just wanted to show what the flags were. But when I looked at its flags in this UI, which didn't have them labeled, it also had done spawning like enabled. I was just checking to see what the text was for these flags because they have like strings associated with them here. I'm pretty sure I didn't misunderstand what I was doing here. But now let's get to the thing that Ivy was talking about, which is the teleporter, because unlike most of these objects, the teleporter can actually do things. Well, actually, plasma cannon can eject you, so I'm gonna blue ball for a little bit longer. Plasma cannon can eject you from your mount. Your shit's not working. I mean, I saw your messages. This is a stream for incredibly smart people, including all of my chat members, because you are all very smart and beautiful. And I very much know that information, and I'm not just making it up so that you like, comment, and subscribe to my stream. Rafi, give me my turkey back. Turkeys can spawn, hunt on the strat would be used in a theoretical AJE task. Yeah, so you could skip the credits. Spoiler alert, it's going to let you skip the credits, but I don't actually know how exactly the interaction plays out. So it might be kind of interesting. Just wait for that to go off. Alright, so... turkey, entity ID, 3990. Now we don't need all this crap. Alright, so we now have the color as our weapon of choice here to figure out when we're going to be going through the door. So we wait for 027, and I'm going to shoot this, and I want to see if I get ejected off of the mount on this particular frame. Alright, so again, I can't look at this entity window while I'm in a fade out, which is annoying, so let's just see what happens. We're not on the mount. Alright, so if you actually eject yourself off of the mount with a plasma shot, you will lose the mount. I'm trying to think like what the implications of that are. It's not very useful, obviously, but it's something to think about because it gives us a little bit more insight into like the entity ID order and like how exactly things are happening in the middle of a frame. And in this particular case, it looks like the player entity ejects itself off of the turkey on the frame that the level is ending before the turkey is added to your inventory. Like, the inventory is the thing that transitions items, like, to the next level for you. So we actually lose the turkey because of that. So that's interesting. Now we're gonna do teleporter. And just so that I could act like a big thorough here, let's also try a different mount, just in the off chance that this somehow matters. It shouldn't, but this game is weird. So we're going to try a different mount just in case it matters for some reason. Let's do it in a normal level that doesn't have credits. I'm also going to turn God mode off for this because I think the outcome is going to be different whether or not you survive. So I'll turn it on until I go out the door. I believe we're going to have a different outcome depending on whether or not we actually live the teleport. Because I think we might get the gross permadeath state if we don't survive the teleport. So let's see here. We have a mount that is 29999. Alright, it has a lower ID than I do, so we can use it. We are going to survive this teleport because there is nothing over to the left that can kill us. I don't think I need game state anymore. Oh, this is under chat. Chat, do please tell me if I like have UIs on like blocking the chat, because it makes it harder for people who watch the VOD. Let's put this over here. Alright, so we could survive a teleport to the right, for sure. So let's go in. That's not the button to go into the door. There we go. That's the button to go into a door. And once again, watch the color of the rock dog. 0.027 is the frame where we need to do our input. Alright, right now. Hello VOD watchers. So that took them out with us, interestingly enough. But I think the fade out has still been triggered. And we'll be able to tell next frame. Yeah, the fade out was still triggered, but we did take them out with us with that teleport. And it looks like everything works fine in that situation. It looks cursed, but everything works fine. Now I need to see what happens. Oh, nice dark level. Now I need to see what happens if we die doing that. What state does that put the player in? So let's go back to just some random ass dwelling level. Take our mount. All the noisemakers. Alright, so this teleport to the right is guaranteed to kill us because there's nowhere for us to go here. So this is going to be a lethal teleport. I have God mode turned off. We need to go in and find out what happens. So 3013 is the rock dog. There's our color values. I don't want to overshoot, so I'm being a little bit slow with this. Alright, so this is probably going to result in a dead player, but I wonder if this is going to trigger like the permadeath jank that can happen normally with the Ankh. So I die on this frame, but we do still have Rafi in the game. We could also try this without a second player to see what the interaction is, but I think what happens is you're dead in the level transition, and then you spawn in dead on the level after that, and your game ends, but we could try both. So I'm going to do this with frame advance to see if anything interesting happens. The side that you enter the door will determine your default facing position for when you want to teleport to after the door. It's if I enter facing right, I should teleport to the right. I think that's how that works, right? Because that's how it works when you go through a door to the other layer. Like if you're fighting the what's the bodyguards in the palace, and you enter the door walking to the right, you will be facing right when you come out of the door. I'm assuming it's the same mechanic here. I'm facing right for the duration of my door entry, so whatever I do will cause me to be facing right when I perform that action. I assume that's what you're talking about, and that sounds consistent. Yeah, so I'm dead, and I don't have my mount anymore either. But actually, I don't know if I'm going to be in the permadeath state or not, so let's go to the next level and find out if we're in permadeath mode. Permadeath is a weird state where the game knows that you're dead, but for some reason the spaghetti code has a different check for whether or not it should spawn a player coffin for you. So you just never come back if you go into the permadeath state. So Ruffy has God mode on right now. I'm just looking for a coffin. I think the coffins spawn, but there's no one in them is what happens. Alright, we did not get permadeath in that scenario, so that might be an Ankh glitch. So you don't have to worry about actually perma-dying in that situation. That might be an Ankh glitch instead, which we can look into later if anybody's interested. Yeah, it's not Ankh time yet. I want to look at the credits thing first. Let's stay focused here. So what we're going to do next is what happens in weird situations. So the only thing that we've been doing so far is well, actually, I should probably go to single player at this point, but what we've been doing so far is just like regular level exits. So I'm going to get rid of Rafi because I think having two players might interfere with the outcome. Let's see what happens in single player when you perform these glitches. Because in multiplayer, I think we got the whole picture. It's frame perfect. Try to prank your friends or something and do that, like as you leave a level in your online co-op games. Really, there's no downside. If you're trying to like kill yourself with the teleporter as you leave a level in online co-op, there's no downside to just mashing the button and hoping you get it. Unless you think you can time that single frame input, you can just mash the button and hope that it happens. That's probably the best play, because if you're too late, nothing happens. If you're too early, nothing happens. So there's advice for you if you want to try this with your friends. It results in you dying, so it might be funny to them. I don't know what you could do with this. It's probably just not useful at all, but there's that information for how I would recommend you try to do this. And if you think you're really good, you could try to time the input perfectly. I believe you could do the same thing if you're not the person entering the door by just pressing the button on the same frame. Like if you have a higher entity ID than the person that leaves the level, you should be able to just press the button on the same frame that the fade out happens, and you could die on that frame. That's already known though. The thing that we didn't know about was the ability to do this with mounts. So I'm looking for Yang's turkey level right now. There were no turkeys on that level, and what I should probably do is set a callback for any level that tells me that there's a turkey on it somewhere. Or I could set the current theme to spawn a turkey at the door as I come into the level. I don't know how long we're going to be doing this. Well, Yang is here. Let's use the Yang turkey for now. I could modify the current theme to spawn a turkey at the door, but for now, let's just do this, because that's a time investment. You have to watch me write code, and if you watch me try to do the bomb cascade code, you know how badly that'll go. So we have a turkey with a lower ID than Valerie, and we're going to die solo this time. So what I'm going to do is give myself the clover to guarantee that this teleport murders me. This one we probably want to put on the hotbar. We'll try this with the Ankh as well, because I'm curious how a permadeath like Ankh scenario would work in single player. Can you shoot the arrow of light while in transition? You can't do anything while in a transition, but if you mean can you fire a crossbow or a bow in general while you're doing this, we can find out. So first of all, let's do this one. We're going to die if we teleport to the left because we have the clover. It's probably a good enough spot for this. Get the colors of the turkey. Yeah, there's a few things we could try here, so I'm happy to take suggestions because I'm not thinking of every edge case here. I'm pretty sure the clover effect doesn't get cleared until after you leave the level. Xbox arrow of light would try to stun you. Well, I mean, it depends what you shoot it with, or if you throw it for that matter. There's actually a lot of arrow of light scenarios we could try, but let's try dying first and see how that looks. Alright, so I died during the fade out. Let's see what state we're in the next level. I believe I'm just gonna be a ghost. Yeah, just by yourself. You actually go to the exit too. It's just kind of silly looking. And it's just gone. Alright, so I'm gonna slow fade here. Let's see where we are in the level when we fade. And I think what's gonna happen here is the camera is just gonna be like snapped to like the top center of the level. Yeah, yep, that's exactly what's going on here. The camera is just like sitting over here because it doesn't have anybody to latch onto. And you can see I'm a ghost right now. So if we let the full fade in run. Alright, so the level just started. And I'm just nowhere to be seen. Again, I'm just sitting over here. I can actually move. Like, I could do things in this situation, but I think the game is currently ticking down the run-ended timer at the moment. So if I unpause here, yeah, it just triggered the death situation after like a couple seconds in the level. I mean, to be precise, it triggered the death scenario after exactly actually, no, never mind. That's not the level timer. Hold on. Level timer is 151 frames. So exactly 2.5 seconds, and then it probably executed one additional frame after that as it transitioned to the death screen. But that's how long it takes to die, apparently, in this game. 2.5 seconds. I think that's a theoretical minimum on death percents. Anybody who wants to do, like, IL death percents, I think this is the meta. Because you can literally spawn into the level dead. So take the IL death percent world record, and if it doesn't exist, make the category, and then take the world record. You just have to do this glitch with a teleporter, and you'll spawn in the next level dead. I don't think it's possible to die faster than that under any circumstances. It's so fucking stupid. Please do add that to meme ranking. That'll actually be kind of funny. You do that on 798. I think you win if you die at 798, but we can also try to check that. I'm pretty sure you actually win if you go to 799, even if you're dead. I believe it goes into your record as a win. But we can check that. I'm curious now. I want to stay on the topic of this. So what we're going to do here, before we try any like arrow of light, actually, hold on, how long is that going to take? Crossbow, arrow of light, stuns. Let's do those first. And then we'll try dying at the end, because I think we're getting into crash the game territory here. So let's try Arrow of Light's shenanigans first, and then we will test the cutscenes, including the Cosmic Ocean and anything else that we can think of, because I think the arrows are going to be pretty quick. So first question is crossbow. So again, warp to any level that has a turkey. God mode on. I just go here, and then go here. There will be a turkey in the level. Thank you, Yang. You're finally useful for something. Stop thief. Don't be such a baby. I'm using it for science. Alright, so let's see what happens with this turkey here. I accidentally closed my UI for some reason. What am I doing? Any tester. That one. I just put that over here. Okay, turkey ID. 291. So I'm gonna go into the door now. Again, wait for the color to hit the threshold we need right at the last frame. I missed it because I'm bad at this video game, so I have to do all that again. Let's just set the... I'm just going to unset the Yang quest. He should be on this level. There he is. Alright, so try again, but don't mash so hard. I promise I'm capable of doing things in this game. It just doesn't look like it all the time. I need him to not... Okay, good, he died. I was like, I need him to not kill the turkey while I'm doing this, because that would be a problem. Alright, let's do this correctly this time. Turkey is 802. Alright, slow down a little bit. Alright, there's our frame. So I'm going to just fire the crossbow and let's see what happens. I bet we just don't have the arrow in this situation. I think that's the only thing that's going to happen. No crossbow arrow. Yeah, we just don't have the crossbow arrow. Okay, so nothing terribly interesting there. But if you had the arrow of light, something more interesting might happen. Because the arrow of light would stun you if you shot it with the crossbow or if you threw it with the pitcher's mitt. And if you're on a mount, there's an even weirder interaction that happens when you do that, which is you go into this weird fucking, like, astral projection state where your character is like stunned, but you still have control of the turkey. This state on its own, I don't think we found anything useful you can do with this besides impress your friends, because it's kind of just like the perma throw from HD. Yeah, this is vanilla. I turned off God mode and fired the crossbow with a arrow of light while on a map. That's all you have to do. Yeah, if you've never seen this before, this is literally all you have to do, and you end up in this weird state where you're kind of attached to the turkey. I think I can scrape myself off and unstun, and that's how you would get out of that state if you like didn't want to do that anymore for some reason. But we haven't found anything useful you can actually do with this state as far as I'm aware. You just kind of, you don't die, you can't like get out of the state really until you unstun, but if you land on the ground for any reason, you get unstunned. You could take damage, I believe. The useful thing you can do with that state is look really funny. You know what? Sometimes that's the only reason you need a bug to exist. That can be the payoff for the bug. So what happens if I do this when I leave the level? So we need a turkey that's lower than me. So once again, I'm going to undo the Ankh quest because this is like the easiest way to do this. Not started, go to 1-3. There's a guaranteed spawn if I do that because the Ujat room already spawned in. There's a turkey. I don't even have to find Yang. Perfect. Now, I don't know what is going to happen here. I think my prediction for what's going to happen here is we lose the crossbow and the arrow of light, and then we just go into the door normally and everything is fine. I think it's going to be less interesting, but we're going to go ahead and try it. So let's go grab the turkey. 3715. Must be a random spawn turkey. I think it spawned post-level gen. As in not with like the Yang room or anything, which I think has a fixed turkey spawn in it. But it should have a low ID, and that's all we care about. Alright, so let's fire it. Yeah, it's hard to really read any useful intel from Valerie here. I can check really quickly what player 1's state is. Well, that turkey was like one of the last things to spawn in before the player character. It was literally just the turkey, the compass entity that always spawns even if you don't have a compass, to point at the door, and then the player. That turkey was literally the last thing to spawn in the level before the player did. This is not interesting at all, but I just felt like pointing that out for some reason. Alright, so let's see. I'm trying to check what the player's move state is right now. We're in state 12. I think care state 12 is stunned. No, actually it didn't stun us. Interesting. What is care state 12? Attacking? Oh, interesting. Okay, so on the first frame of shooting it, I'm in the attacking state. So it didn't actually have time to stun me. I wonder what the like order of operations is on that. Like, we heard the crossbow break. I wonder if on the next frame is when that would stun me. I could do that frame by frame, but let's leave the level and see where we're at. Yeah, no crossbow. So the crossbow did get destroyed, and by extension, we don't have the arrow because we fired it and we lost the crossbow. And we're back in a normal level. So that wasn't terribly interesting, but it's good to check these things. So we're not quite done with arrow of light, and then I think we'll do the cutscene shenanigans, and then we'll try it with Ankh. So I just want to see what happens frame by frame. Taunty to you. Dying on hard mode. Oh fuck, I remember that fight in hard mode too. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was definitely the get good part of hard mode if you hadn't gotten good already. Alright, so God mode. Wait, did I have God mode on when I did that? Well, we lost it either way, so you know what? It's going to be the same outcome even if we don't have God mode on. I'll try it after this. I'll redo that one because I think I had God mode on during it, but let's try this. So if I were to fire it, interestingly enough, the turkey actually tried to headbutt there. I just want to see what character state I'm in right now. Oops, not that. Entity, player 1. Yeah, I'm in the attacking state. I haven't been stunned yet. Next frame is when you get stunned. Yeah, God mode prevents stun. It has done that for a while. It didn't used to, but now it does. So it may have interfered with how it played out, but we lost the crossbow anyway, so I'm led to believe that it wouldn't have mattered because the crossbow breaks either way. So you would not be able to hold it because it doesn't exist when the level ends. But yeah, in this case, we weren't stunned, and then on the next frame, after the attacking frame, we go into the stunned state. And let's see if I can... Yeah, I have it set to player 1 right now. Where is my stun timer? There we go. I'm just trying to understand what's going on here. Yeah, we got a stun timer. 60 frames, if anybody was wondering how long that particular thing stuns you. Yeah, it just gets lost in the... Well, it gets lost on the... when you leave. The crossbow breaks when you shoot it. So, like, not only did you try to shoot the arrow, which detaches it from the crossbow, and that would cause it to not come with you, it also breaks the crossbow. So there's, like, even less jank that could possibly allow you to keep that arrow in the level transition. Here's this, if anybody want to see this nonsense again. It's a glitch. Spelunky is a video game. I'm trying to actually scrape myself off of it now, and I can't fucking do it. A little more here. I shouldn't be having this much trouble doing this. Oh wow, it actually centered. I thought that I was going to be able to scrape the player off with that. Whatever, that's not what we're here to do. So let's see, I need to go retest the previous scenario. So let's just go warp to dwelling again. I just need to unset this. Every time I have to do this manually is an argument that I should have just automated this process, but I'm stubborn and kind of dumb sometimes, so we're just going to keep doing it like this. And I'm going to convince myself that it's not going to matter, because it won't save any time. Surely it won't save any time. Alright, we'll take Yang's Turkey again, because it's in a good spot. And we're going to do crossbow with arrow of light again, but this time I'm not going to have God mode on. That's the only difference here. This is just to, like, be sure that I know what I'm doing right now. Yeah, quit being such a baby. Alright, God mode off. Go into the door. Turkey ID, 237. Actually, there's a better way I could do this. Hold on. I could just set it to Overlunky selection. And then I could just pick the turkey. There we go. Okay, that'll always pick whatever I've last selected. Sneaky G if the raid. Hello, everyone. We're doing science. That's just what we do here because I'm washed up. I did speedruns earlier in co-op and it was an absolute nightmare. So welcome to the stream. I hope you had fun. Whatever game you were playing. Insert Minecraft creeper here. Oh man. Wait, oh, you're playing Minecraft. Nice. I was honestly expecting Spelunky. That's usually what I get. But you know, maybe you treated yourself to something that isn't Spelunky for once. Well, not for once. I know you play other games, but I wish I could convince myself to play things that aren't Spelunky sometimes, but I just don't have that kind of control over myself. The game just constantly draws me back in. He was playing Spelunky. Look, Sneaky could have been playing Minecraft, Chris, and you can't do me like that. I don't know. I don't have information because I'm a bad streamer and I didn't use the shoutout command to see what he was actually playing. The good shoutout command, the one I made in Nightbot, because the bad one doesn't even say what game they were playing. Alright. Well, I hope Spelunky didn't do you too dirty, because it was not being nice to me earlier. At least I had fun with Cue Ball. So anyways, what we're testing here is a very weird interaction where you can use your held item on the last frame before the fade out if your mount has a lower entity ID than you do. And if that all doesn't make sense to you, feel free to ask questions, but I'm not going to explain it again otherwise. If you're curious, I'll go over it again a little bit, but we're kind of halfway through that science segment right now. So what we're doing here is we're waiting for that last frame. So I just need to wait for this counter here. We're looking at the color for the turkey fading to black. This is the frame where I can perform this input. It's frame perfect. We are going to shoot the arrow of light on a crossbow and see what happens. And my theory is we're just going to lose the crossbow. Normally this puts you into a weird glitchy stun state. What happens if you do it on the last frame of the level? So the crossbow breaks. My player entity will be in the attacking state now. And you can see the arrow kind of got like dropped in front of me right here. I should not have anything in my inventory when I leave. Yeah, we lose it. Okay, so we verified that interaction. Now, we're not done with the arrow of light, because you can also throw this bad boy. So we get the arrow of light. Let's see. Okay, we got a message. You've been in a super fighting games. You've been super into fighting games, but you're playing Spelunky. You still got a 99. What's your PV? I was under the impression you actually had a 99, but I could very well be mixing you up with someone. Like, what's your PB? Is 720 like really good? Or do you have like a tragic like 790 PB and you just trying to beat that? Because I can understand that pain even if I'm like past that phase of my life. And I wish you the best in your cosmic ocean endeavors, whatever your answer is going to be. So let's see. We need to get another turkey. I can't believe I'm having so much trouble navigating this. So I've just been using Yang turkeys for this. So we set the quest and I started. We go to 1-3. There will be a turkey on the level. I've God mode turned on for this. Okay, it's in the middle. That's not too tragic, but that might depend on how you died, I suppose. I shouldn't make assumptions here. Hey man, I'm doing something. Could you please just go away? Hey, just go over there. Just hang out over there. Basically a tragic one. People have died on 798 without a Cosmic Ocean win, so I mean, there are tiers of tragedy. But I do wish you the best in your cosmic endeavors. Even if I'm like completely sick of Cosmic Ocean because I have so many wins, I understand like what it feels like when you don't have one yet. Let's go through the door. So let's pick the turkey. Look at the color values. Watch it now, we're not going through the door just yet. Hold on. So this normally doesn't do anything. You could throw the arrow of light without the mitt. However, if you have the mitt, you get stunned. And I'm wondering if that changes the interaction. Again, it probably won't. This is almost certainly not going to do anything. But if I turn off God mode, you get stunned when you throw the arrow of light with the mitt, unless you do a frame 1 down throw, which I can't seem to do. There we go. If you do a first frame down throw where you press down and throw on the same frame, you could actually throw the arrow of light with mid physics. No, this does not open the portal to Cosmic, for anybody who is wondering. But normally you just get stunned like that. So I want to see what happens here. I'm going to actually try both of those things. So let's see what happens if you throw it while on the turkey. You hit the turkey apparently. Is there another turkey in the level? New turkey. Alright, so I've God mode back on now. Alright, so apparently you kill your turkey if you do that. Now you can throw it. Yeah, it's frame perfect, so I mean you're gonna either stun it or place it on the ground if you miss the frame, but it's 2 inputs on the same frame. Let me set the turkey to have more health so it doesn't die. Apparently I'm holding left. There we go. So if I do this on the same frame with frame advance, where I try to throw it... Well, actually, that's not going to work because you can't put the arrow down. Yeah, this just throws it. Oh, but you... Oh, never mind. No, you can down throw. You can fucking down throw on a mount. I didn't know this was possible. I've never tried to do this. I didn't know you could down throw on a mount. Like, nobody uses mounts. Let's try that again. Down and throw. You can fucking down throw on a mount. I've just never thought to try that for some reason. So you can probably do that with the arrow as well then. Let's try to do it in real time. Yeah, you can just down throw the arrow on a mount. It doesn't get mid physics, notably. Like normally if you do the 1 frame down throw, you get mid physics on it. Like you can see it goes in a straight line there, but if you do the same inputs on a mount, it doesn't seem to do it. It just goes down. But if I don't do that, if I just throw it normally, it just hits the fucking mount. This game is just a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Shrouded in riddles. Oh. Let's see, what was I gonna do? I guess I was just gonna try this. So yeah, let's try to do the down throw while we're on the mount and see what happens. So go into the door. Wait for the fade. Right there. Alright, down throw. Alright, I don't think anything terribly interesting happened here, which I didn't think it would, but I'm just trying to be thorough here. You never know when a weird interaction is going to happen, but we're just going to not have the arrow in the next level. Why is my turkey cursed? Was that turkey cursed when I went through the door, chat? Or did I like accidentally hit a ghost jar at some point? Was my... Hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on. This right here is why we... Was it gray? I might be crazy. I might have cursed the turkey on the way to the door. I don't remember cursing it. So what I did was I set this turkey's health to 99. Oh god, what am I doing? Okay, hold on. We got a couple things we could try here. I set this turkey's health to 99. That could be the reason it came in cursed. I don't know what exactly they like used to store that information. But that could have somehow resulted in the turkey being cursed. I just don't remember cursing it. Let's try that again. So let's set the Ankh quest. And not started. Warp to 1-3. The 7 damsels thing. What about the 7 damsels? Did I do something with 7 damsels where I got like a weird scuffed curse state? I honestly don't remember. I believe, yeah, 7 damsels is possible because you can take both clone guns to Eggplant World, but the game only stores 4 of them. I don't actually know like what the interaction is. Some of them appear cursed and poisoned. Oh my fucking god! Does it actually overflow that counter? I'm going to make a note to look into that because we might have the tools to do that, but we're not going to do it right now. We might come back to this one because this might be related to some kind of weird overflow when it like stores the data between levels. But for now, what I want to know is why I had a turkey do that. So this turkey has a lower ID than Valerie. We're going to down throw the arrow of light with the mitt again. We have the mitt still. So we're going to go into the door. So this turkey has 4 health right now. It is a completely normal vanilla turkey. The only jank here is that we have the arrow of light, but we can have the arrow of light at any point in Sunken City, and you can get a turkey there. So there should be nothing like illegitimate about what we're doing. So I'm going to do the down throw. You can see the arrow is actually going downward a bit. It was probably the HP. Yeah, the turkey does not have like boosted HP anymore. So just a check before we move on to what we were doing originally, which is checking this particular interaction. I'm going to give my turkey 99 health. Actually, it had 89, I think, because I hit it with the arrow a couple times. And we're going to leave this level, and we're going to see if the turkey, like, retains that HP. And if it comes in cursed or something. Like, there's a few interactions that could potentially happen. I need a new turkey. It doesn't matter. It had a higher ID than me anyways. I'll get one with a lower ID if that ends up mattering. I don't think it will. So if we give the turkey like 89 health and leave the level, it's cursed. So yeah, there's something to do with having an invalid health value. I wonder how many bits they set aside for the health of the turkey. It could be something to do with that, and it's overflowing into the booleans. But we're going to stay focused right now, and then we might do that next, or I might save that one for a future stream to look into overflowing game state when you leave a level and think about like what things you could do with that exploit. It's not quite stale reference manipulation, it's more like a buffer overflow. And buffer overflows are also very powerful, but it depends on how much damage you could do with it. How far out of the buffer can we get is kind of the question. It's not a buffer technically, but it's the same concept of writing to memory that is like off to the side of what you were supposed to be able to interact with. So we're gonna skip out on that for now. We know that we can get a cursed turkey somehow. You could probably get a poison as well for some reason. And let's move on to the cutscene thing. So what we were originally doing and what we're gonna keep doing here is we're gonna test interactions when you like try to leave a level. And in this case, we want to see what happens if you are dead in a cutscene. So I need to get a teleporter because as far as I'm aware, the teleporter is the only way to die to this. I'm gonna need another mount, so we're gonna go back to dwelling. And we're gonna try to die before the ending cutscenes, because that's what Ivy wants to see, and then we'll try other cutscenes after that. So, sorry Ivy, I delayed it for so long, but I want to look at this too. So let's look at the ending cutscenes first. So we've not started the Ankh quest. Let's go get a turkey. Actually, I need another player. So let's go back to the main menu. I need another player to bring it into the levels that have cutscenes, because so far this is only a co-op glitch. And maybe we'll figure out a way to do this otherwise. Yeah, you want to see if the hired hands... I'll actually show you the hired hand thing. Hold on, dying. Has anybody redeemed hydrate, or have you all been letting me die today? Thank you, Sneaky. Kiki just throws the money. You just fucking throw it in the money hole instead of redeeming hydrate. Yeah, nobody... Oh, okay, there were some hydrates. No, that's last stream. Yeah, nobody has redeemed hydrate today, so you've all been just letting me die. I can't believe this. I can't trust my chat for anything. Alright, so we need 2 players for this. I'm going to show the hired hand thing really quickly because that was the question that you asked. So, I have a hired hand. He is associated with Valerie right now because I was closest to him. If I give him the turkey, I will show you exactly what the entity ID order is. So pick this up, buddy. I'm just going to put him in baby jail so he doesn't die while I try to do this. There we go. Alright, so he's holding the turkey. And if I leave the level and go to the next one, I can show you exactly what state he's in. Alright, fade out is finished. So let's look at the entities. Starting with the FX compass that always generates at the beginning, I can explain a little bit of what's going on here. These are the natural turkey spawns. Look at this text right here, the name of the entity. That's what I'm looking at right now. This is FX compass. If I had a compass, this is the UI indicator pointing at the door. That would be like down here somewhere. I can't really see it. The hitbox isn't showing up because it's an FX entity. But that's what this would be. We don't have it right now. The next entity that always spawns is, again, player 2. Player 2 doesn't have anything associated with him. So it's going to spawn him. It's going to spawn his 2 player indicators. So the portrait and the little arrow like pointing to it. Then it spawned Valerie's hired hand before Valerie. So this hired hand has a lower entity ID than I do right now. These 2 entities right here, these 2 blank slots, these are actually player indicators for the hired hand that despawn like 1 frame after the hired hand generates into the level. I don't know why the game creates them, but those are both player indicators for a hired hand. And the game kills the entities after the hired hand spawns. This game is full of spaghetti code. I can't explain why they did it that way, but that's what those 2 empty slots are. And then Valerie spawns. Then Valerie's 2 player indicator entities. And then the fucking turkey in the hired hand's hands. That is the entity that's here, the one that's highlighted in green. So Ivy, that is why this doesn't work. It seems like it should. The hired hands actually do spawn before the player does, but their held items spawn afterward. And it's not just mounts. I tested this with all their held items. Every hired hand held item spawns like in a list after the player entity spawns, and after the player's held item spawns as well. And I think all the player power-ups. I have like a super crusty document of like the spawn order of everything I tested. And then the ball and chain is like the last thing that spawns after all of that, along with like the FX player flag, which should be, let's see, the birdies for the mounts. Yeah, and then the leader flag spawns. And then I think it'll be like a few like post like generation spawns, like layered doors, the buttons for the doors, and then it looks like we're past the end of the entity list. So that's like what happens at the end. That's why that doesn't work. We need 2 players to do this, unfortunately. Alright, so I need to get this hired hand to die somewhere so he doesn't interfere. We're gonna get Rafi to grab it because Rafi's held item will spawn before Valerie. And that means that we will have the right ID order to fuck around in cutscenes. So first cutscene, Tiamat. I think I know what happens here already because I looked at some of the science they did, but let's watch it in slow motion and see if we can learn anything interesting about it. So we're gonna go to the Tiamat level. And I need a teleporter because I need to die. And I'm gonna kill Rafi as well. Normally you wouldn't have Rafi or anything here, but I'm going to kill Rafi as well in this situation. Because again, we don't know how to get a mount in this level, so you would need both players to die. If you were doing some like super cursed like online co-op AJE category, you would need them both to die, or else I believe it's going to play through the entire cutscene. Again, we're just kind of like theory crafting potential uses for this. So I'm going to get Rafi killed. First try. Couldn't be a speed run or that wouldn't have happened. And let's go ahead and leave the level. This is a guaranteed death because this door is right next to the edge of the level. So pick the turkey, move this over here so you can see what happens in slow motion. Go into the door. There it is, color. Maybe wants to see the glitched ending cutscene with hired hands in it. Oh, do you want to see that? I wonder if I can give myself a hired hand. Because we know that you can get a hired hand in the door cancel state. Let's try that. So let's see, what frame am I on? Alright, so we died on the last frame. Let's see if that hired hand followed us. If he didn't follow us, that's fine. I still want to see how this plays out. Alright, so we have a glitch camera. We are definitely dead. Where are we in the level? Doesn't look like we got the hired hand, but that might be because I just did it wrong. So what it did there was it just instantly faded out the cutscene. I wonder if the game is just doing some weird check. That's just like, yeah, end the level because you're dead. And then it thinks that the cutscene was finished. Let's see what happens after that. I'm frame advancing right now, by the way. Nothing is happening. There we go. Yeah, it just skips straight to the credits after like a weird, like, glitched fade out. If it just fades the cutscene, well, I mean, we don't know. We're gonna try that. Yeah, so it just skips you straight to the credits, and then I think you're dead in this screen as well. Yeah, we're super zoomed out, so you can see behind the curtain. But we're just dead in this scene as well. So it's essentially a credits skip, which will actually save a lot of time in RTA if you could do this consistently, because as far as I'm aware, this counts as a win as far as the game is concerned. It never checks whether you're losing at this point. So like you actually win the game in this situation because it shows you the journal at the end, which is like the Moss ranking standard for did I actually finish my run. I defeated Tiamat and escaped to the surface. So this would count. If you could actually do this in an RTA category, I think this would be legit. Until they make a rule to not allow it, which I don't think they should do that because I think this is really cool for a time save. If you could get a teleporter, the problem is we don't know how to get a mount that can do that. So let's do it again with hired hands. Let's try some other cutscenes and let's think about whether we could get turkeys on like Hundun or something. There's potential ways that we can make this happen. We just got to think about it. We got to be creative and think outside the box here. So let's see. The camera's a little bit wonky. That's fine. We're using Rafi for now to get the turkey that we need, but there are likely other ways that we could do this. Alright, so I could probably just go to a 1, 2, and then 3. So God mode. Is this the eye level? It's the turkey level. I think it's also voice echoes, so this game can go fuck itself. But we got a turkey. So let's give it to Rafi. Never mind, it's gonna die. Actually, I don't have to... Never mind, I actually don't need gang turkeys because I'm giving them to Rafi anyway, so I'm wasting my time here. Let's do it with a different mount, however, just in case something different happens. I think we did Rock Dog already, but I'm trying to like vary the things that I'm doing here just in case it ends up mattering, even though it probably won't. Alright, so again, go to Tiamat. Rafi's gonna have an accident now. Enjoy the liquid abyss. Teleporter. We're gonna get the telefrag first try because why wouldn't I? I'm not speedrunning. Why wouldn't I get the telefrag first try? It's not a speedrun. There's no reason to not get it. I pick them out. Now I'm gonna give myself a hired hand. I'll actually give myself a couple. Now let me do it with a coffin because I know for sure that those will tether correctly. Alright, so we have 2 men, each of which are holding an object. Let's just see if anything interesting happens here. Rafi's dead, right? Yeah, okay, Rafi has perished. I had nothing to do with it. So God mode off, we're going into the door. Let's see if the hired hands do anything during that scuffed, like, fade in and fade out. Alright, and we're dead. Alright, so we get this. And let me zoom out again. They're not there. I think the reason they're not there is because I'm dead in this cutscene. So they were not tethered to a player when the game ended. So they just don't exist anymore. Like nothing interesting happens because you can't bring them with you if you're not alive when the level ends. I think that's the reason why they're not here. It makes sense. Like I think the game checks for whether or not like they're tethered to you, and you probably are dead at the end of that frame, so the hired hands won't do anything. And you can't get a hired hand with a lower... Actually, I wonder if they had a lower ID versus a higher one, if it would affect anything, but I would expect... So here's the deal. If I bring in hired hands with Rafi, and then they get tethered to Valerie... Why was he so set on it? I don't know, because maybe he thought something funny would happen. Hired hands are weird during the cutscene. Maybe they would run loose or something if the player was dead, which would be really silly looking. That would be what I would be interested in, is do they like run loose or something during the cutscene if they don't have a player? It doesn't look like it, but we have one more idea. I want the hired hands to have a lower ID than Valerie. My theory here is that the mount goes into the door, it does its thing, and then I teleport out. But if the hired hands have a lower ID, then their AI will tick before Valerie dies, and that might allow them to stay tethered through the level transition. I don't know if that'll work, but I'm curious if it will. I don't know how exactly the game processes that. It might like scan the hired hands and check whether they're tethered to somebody, and that's the only criteria. In which case they would be tethered to a ghost and they might come through the level with me. Or the game might check at the very end whether I'm alive. So we're gonna find out. It should be interesting. And this is what that looks like in real time. It's just a kind of weird looking fade out. And I can't skip this, just speed it up. Fast forward, I don't care about this, let me out. I don't want to warp out of this screen because I don't want to mess with my like, player state at all. There we go, good cutscene. I think that's the camera that causes that to happen. Alright, so we got one more thing we could try. We're gonna give Rafi a hired hand and the turkey and have him bring them both in. I'm gonna put him in baby jail so he can't actually do anything. I'll put Rafi here just so he's safe, but I'm gonna put the hired hand in baby jail. I didn't mean to do that. I need to kill that one or it'll get tethered to somebody. Oh my god, dude, you fucking put it down. I'm not sure who that hired hand got tethered to. I think it was actually Rafi because he was able to pick it up, but I'm gonna play it safe and make a new one anyways. That's not a hired hand. Alright, that is definitely tethered to Rafi. So let's have him pick up the turkey now, or he can ride it. Or the hired hand can hold it. It doesn't matter. Everything will spawn before Valerie does. We got everything we need. Let's go to Tiamat now. Spawning a teleporter. Try stuff with Ankh too. Yeah, I want to do that afterward. What did I just spawned a teleporting border. Fuck, the hired hand walked into it. Okay, alright, we need to focus a little bit here. Teleporter. I don't know where that teleporting border sent him. Just, it fucking did whatever the Cosmic Ocean wrapping would be. Except without a Cosmic Ocean, so it probably put him in a wall. Or out of bounds somewhere, if I had to guess. Dog, can you please shut up? I'm trying to do something here. Alright, so let's try this again. Turkey. Give the turkey to what's-his-face. And go over here, give a hired hand to what's-his-face. Rafi now has a hired hand. It is his. Now we go to Tiamat. And, if Rafi stays over here, the hired hand should be fine. Yeah, it's first try every time. I never tried the door enter with horizontal mid throw, I only did down throw. I'm pretty sure I did mid throw, right? I did both, I'm almost certain. I only did down throw. Maybe I got distracted. Alright, I'll have to see if I remember to do that. If I forget to do that one, it's not a big deal because, like, I'm 99.9% sure you're just not going to have the arrow in your hands when you go through the door because that's what we've been seeing. That's my theory for what's going to happen there. Alright, so I need to get the turkey now. Dude, I swear to God. The hired hand is looking for ways to fuck this up. Like, he's going to find a way. Alright. I'm doing this with frame advance to make sure that he doesn't do anything stupid while I'm trying to get the turkey out of that situation. I don't trust him. I just do not trust this guy at all under any circumstances. I do not want this guy to be able to kill himself. I need him for this test. Alright, so I need to kill Rafi now so that I regain or gain ownership of the hired hand. Rafi has died. This is now my hired hand, but he has a lower entity ID than I do. Will that have any effect on this glitch? I don't know. I don't actually know what to expect. I don't know if he'll be able to spawn in. Alright, so he's sleeping over there. I don't believe the state of the hired hand is going to matter at all, but I'm going to wake him up just because this is like a standard situation for him to be in here. I don't think it'll ultimately affect anything. Alright, so pick selector. Boy, oh boy, I hope something interesting happens here. But probably not. So embrace yourself for disappointment. But at least we'll know the answer. And I'm dead. So the question is, did this guy see me die? Because he had a lower entity ID than my player. You can actually see it here. 4908, this hired hand was 4899. Did he see me die? I don't know exactly when the game does that check, but we'll find out. Doesn't look like it, though. Interestingly enough, the camera is over here this time. That could just be Spelunky, though. Alright, that's unfortunate, but yeah, nothing interesting happens with the hired hands. It doesn't look like it's possible to bring them through with you if all the players are dead. But we know now. So Ivy, was that the question that you had? Again, a disappointing development, but at least we have the answer now. We're not done with this, because we have some other shenanigans. We still haven't looked into the other cutscenes to see if they play out any differently. We just did Tiamat. That's what you're looking for. Alright. Hope you got your answer now. So I'm going to quickly do the arrow throw with the mitt without a down throw, just to see what happens, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything interesting. I'm going to spawn a light arrow, turn on God mode. So again, normally, well, if you had God mode off, normally you get stunned. If you do a frame perfect down throw, that one right there, you could throw it anyways, but we apparently forgot to test one of the scenarios. So I'm going to go... That's weird looking. I'm going to go to the Yang level again. Actually, the key gets prioritized. Well, I can just go to 1, 2 to get the turkey now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get a turkey from Yang. Or up here, whatever works. I want the turkey to take damage. I have God mode. The turkey does not. Nope, well, turkey's taking damage whether I like it or not, I guess. It don't matter. None of this matters. Let's just do the down throw. As long as the turkey's not dead. Alright, so, God mode off. Enter door. Monitor the colors. And I'm just going to throw it normally with the mitt. This should stun me. It should drop the arrow, but then on the next frame we're going to leave anyways. So nothing interesting is likely to happen. And nothing happened. We just don't have the arrow. Okay, good to be thorough though. I want to check the other cutscenes. So chat, let's think about this for a second. What cutscenes exist in this game? You know, these are all the levels in the game. So there's an Olmec cutscene, but that is an intro cutscene. So the Tiamat spaceship, we could do it during the spaceship if we could figure out what frame the level ends on. But I think that is not really thematically any different than just a player like dying on the fade out, because players don't really have any control during that. Yeah, so you can't really even do anything during that. Yeah, you can't... You have to hold a mount when you go into the rocket ship, don't you? I don't think you can take a mount into the Tiamat or into the, like, Olmec ship at the top. Yeah, sunken, Olmec. I'm trying to think outside the box here. Olmec doesn't have an exit cutscene, so there's nothing we can do on Olmec. Nothing I could think of, at least. So there's you transition. I'm basically looking for like weird level transitions where interesting things would happen, either if a player is dead during the transition or if you did like a weird interaction to like teleport or die or something on the last frame. I don't think we're going to learn anything interesting from the level that we leave, but we're going to learn something interesting on the level where you die. Now, as far as the Olmec ship is concerned, what can we do there? Player 2 could cause it during transition at Tiamat. Well, what can happen with player 2 is if you're in the front layer and somebody goes in, let's go to the Olmec ship. That's going to be what we check first. But if somebody is in the front layer, like in online co-op, and you go into the Olmec ship, they get teleported to the back layer in like a sort of almost like an invincible, like kind of state. They have physics still, but they're invincible and invisible off to the side of the screen. And if they're in the back layer, when you go into the Olmec ship, they get put in the ship with you. Usually off to the side for some reason, where they're teetering, which just causes like hired hands to drop items. I don't know why it does that. Let's see. Just grab Valerie and go up to the top here. Hopefully we dodge the spark traps. I got very lucky that I didn't get hit by a spark trap, or Rafi would have gotten knocked out of my hands there. So what can we do with this? Because what happens here is both players are going to get teleported in this ship with no control. And we can't bring a mount back here, except for one ludicrously absurd situation, which is if you are like past speed running, you can get the Ushabti in here before it hatches, and you can get a Keelan in the back layer. I can't think of any other way that you can get a mount in the back layer besides that ludicrously fast task strat, where you have to get here before 5 seconds have passed in the level in order to have the Ushabti not hatch until you take it into this room. And then it will hatch into the updog. And it looks like you can actually go into the door with the mount in this situation. But I don't know how the level exit is handled by this particular cutscene, and I suspect we're not going to be able to do anything. But I suppose we could try. So let's see what happens if we try to die during this cutscene. This is likely to take multiple attempts. Actually, I can't do it because... oh no. Yeah, the idea is wrong. Okay, that's not gonna work. What can we do here? Yeah, this cutscene removes control. There's no door transition. It would be a matter of whether or not it gave you back control. But we can't get a mount in here because this situation, this edge case, will spawn it after the player entities. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I don't know. Can we think of anything here? If you got back control, that's the thing. I'm wondering if you will get back control. Let's do a hypothetical what if for a couple tries. I'm going to have Rafi bring the mount into the level. Like, we're gonna pretend that we somehow figured out how to get a mount into the back layer in this video game. So I'm gonna have Rafi bring the mount in the level here. So let's go back to Tiamat. Now we have a mount that we could theoretically do this glitch with. And I need to get it into the back layer, which I can't normally do. I'm gonna bring Valerie up to the top alone, and then I'll teleport Rafi afterward. Right, that's gonna be annoying. Let's see, so... I think he's not on any active floor, so I can just put him here. And 116 should do the trick. Alright, so Rafi's up here now. We can't bring this through the door with us, but we can force Rafi to go to the other layer. So Rafi's in the back layer now. I should be able to go there because that's where all the players are. So if we somehow manage to do all of this, I don't even know when this, like, is going to fade out. I'm not sure what I'm looking for here. There might be a logic object for this. do we got? We have a logic list. I don't know how this is tracked. What entity is responsible for it? This is going to be really hard to do. Alright, well, let's kill Rafi to make sure that we actually get the weird glitch. If I somehow, by some miracle, manage to pull this off... I can't even use save states for this, is the frustrating thing, because I leave the level. Actually, hold on, maybe I can use save states, as long as I... Yeah, we can use save states, actually, because you can use a save state during a fade out. So this is a new feature to Overlunky. These do not persist between screens. You cannot use this to, like, resume a level after you have left it. They're limited in capacity because these are the rollback save states that are used by online co-op. I showed these on my last stream, but for anyone who hasn't seen that, these exist. So I can save this state, and I can run around and do things in this level. And then I can reload the state. Should be Shift F1. And I'm just back where I was. Like, no problem. Like, nothing ever happened. That will persist until the screen ends, and the fade out does not count as the screen ending. So in theory, if I'm really careful about this, I can pay attention to when the fade out happens and reload it and try again. So there's a couple things that we could try here. The first thing that we could try is whether or not I could teleport off of the up dog during this animation. That was weird looking. It actually put me on the platform for a second here. Okay, so there's no fade to black in this situation, so how am I gonna do this? Where is there a fade? That was weird. Yeah, so I can't teleport right now. Let's load the state. Alright, so let's see. What are we doing? We're trying to break this game. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the save state on the frame that I enter the ship so we can watch the level counter up here and figure out when we could do specific things. So I'm going to make the save state right now. Alright, so if I reload it, we're on the door. So I'm going to enter the door on the frame after the save state. So we are now entering the door. Let's see when we can teleport. What we're trying to do here, Pigo, is we're trying to use a one-frame window when you're on a mount with a lower entity ID than the player to use the teleporter. And in this case, I wonder if I can hold down to get myself killed by the teleporter. Let me give myself a clover, actually, before I go into the door, just to make sure this is consistent. Alright, so I'm going to center the mount. So I can teleport down if I want to die, horizontally if I want to live. Up will probably also kill me. Because anyone who doesn't know, there's an invisible ceiling above. I can show that just for the hell of it. And the bounds, I wish these still had plus and minus buttons on them. That's left, right. This one's top. Just for anyone who's wondering what's up there, that's what's up there. There's just a row of invisible, like, tiles. And that you will die if you teleport into these or out of bounds. So anyways, that's not what we're here to check, though. So back to the defaults. I now have a clover. I'm going to set myself to be snapped to the door. And we're going to enter the door immediately after we load the save state. So, state saved. State loaded. Go into the door. Let's just count how many frames it takes for the funny, like, animation change to happen. So we started on 366. Or, yeah, 366 for our level time. Let me give it the hitboxes. I think I accidentally clicked the camera. Move it back to Valley. So, on what frame? Oh, it doesn't count up. Okay, we have to use this counter up here, the frame counter. Well, let's see which one it is anyways. Okay, something happened on 463 on the frame counter, which I think does roll back. Not the global counter. So 463, something happened. I just tried to teleport on that frame and it wouldn't let me. And I can't teleport anymore. So let's try that again. 463. So on 462, I'm going to try to do a teleport instead. I don't think this is going to work. Alright, I tried it and nothing happened. Like, I tried to do the teleport input. I think this locks out your controls like differently. This cutscene prevents everybody from doing anything once it like warps them over. So it could be that it just won't work here, and we've made a lot of assumptions here. We made an assumption that we can get a mount with a lower entity ID than this player in the back layer of this Tiamat level in order to attempt this glitch, and nothing useful happened. I can't teleport. So the next thing that we could try here is, can I do anything at this point? And I think what has happened here is my character entity is over here now. Yeah, I'm just sitting here in this like weird limbo state, so I'm almost certain that I cannot do anything at any point during this, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna try to do it on the last frame before the fade out. What are we trying to do? I don't know. We're trying to break the game is what we're attempting to do here. We just want to know if anything interesting happens with this interaction. It doesn't look like it for this particular one. You could do this with exit doors, but this cutscene functions differently. So anyways, my player entity right now, I think should have inputs disabled. I'm not sure if there's a flag for that or not. Apparently I've been crushed at some point. Yeah, that's because I was just clicking through walls. Or that actually might be a level flag. These ones. Hide HUD, allow pause. It actually doesn't look like it's, unless it's in here, it doesn't look like it's disabling inputs, but there's something about this player state that prevents the player from doing anything. I think there is a disable inputs button somewhere, but let's let this play out. Alright, so I need to catch the fade out as it's happening, and I need to see what frame that occurs on. So let's open up the other one. As long as I don't let the fade out complete, we will be able to roll it back to the save state that we had. I'm going to make another save state right here, actually. Alright, so we have another save state now. And I'm just going to wait for the fade out to happen, and then we're going to go back to the frame before that and try to teleport. I think nothing is going to happen here. I'm just frame advancing like one frame at a time until I spot the loading value gets set to 1 here. I don't want to miss it, so I'm doing it like really incrementally. And I could make another save state here. How long is this fucking cutscene? Jesus. Okay, that was it actually. I made the save state on the last frame there. So then the fade out starts. So if we load this state, we are on the frame before the fade out. So this would be the only opportunity I get to press a button. And nothing happened. Alright, so we cannot do anything to our knowledge with this particular cutscene. Disappointing, but not unexpected. What other cutscenes are there? We have the Hundun cutscene, which is most likely to end exactly the same way as Tiamat. Let's see, did anybody else have any other suggestions? We can't do anything with Olmec. Yeah, it was Sunken, Olmec, Tiamat, Hundun. We just did Sunken. Olmec, you can't do anything because it's an intro cutscene. Frog, could you please quiet down up there? 799 and Hundun are the only ones we haven't looked at yet. So for consistency, let's go ahead and check the 799. Check Hundun and then 799, and then we'll see if we can think of any other useful stuff for this, and then I will probably look into the Ankh Permadeath glitch. So let's see, in order to do Hundun, Rafi is going to need to bring the mountain into the level. Was the hot dog? Okay, I don't know why it attacked during that frame. That was weird. I don't understand why mounts sometimes do stuff when you use like a teleporter. Should play viewer co-op. I mean, I played co-op earlier today, but it also wasn't viewer co-op. That'll be another day if I do that. This is science for now. Alright, so we're at the exit. I need to get Rafi over here. She's the same lines that I did earlier. And we need him at... I think this will just work. Yeah, almost. Close enough. Rafi, could you like calm down? I'm trying to delete the tile that he's on, and it just won't. There we go. Okay, he's out. So Rafi needs to hold this to give it the right ID. And we're going to just teleport into the Hundun level. And I'm going to have to use frame advance immediately because I don't know what's going to happen here. So let's do it. Alright, we have an up dog. The game is eating my inputs for some reason. Alright, Rafi, you have served your purpose. So I'm going to have him drop that. Turn on God mode. And Rafi, he'll be fine down there. He'll probably be completely okay. I need to be really careful not to get this crushed. And I just want to see if anything interesting happens that's different from Tiamat. The answer is probably not. Rafi, yeah, he's doing floor strats right now. He definitely doesn't have God mode on or anything. He's not cheating. He'll be perfectly fine. Alright. Alright, how do we do this? Let's see. There's a way to do this. There's also a flag for it. I will use a necromancer if this doesn't work, but I want to see if I can manually set the flags for it. You're not dead anymore. Okay, so you are standing. You have health. You're fine. That's the journal. I didn't mean to press that button. Can't have nice things, can we? Funny fall damage. Revive my dog, please. I gotta give it the fucking dead flag back, I think. Oh no, it's dead. Oh, it's alive. Wow, it's a miracle. It's also untamed because the AI just doesn't really know what to do. I need to open that. Don't look at that. What the fuck is going on with its hitbox? Fix it? There we go. Okay. This is a perfectly good, brand new up dog. It still has lower health. It still has a lower ID than Valley. Completely legitimate. Nothing funny going on here. Rafi is busy doing floor strats right now, as you can hear. Because Rafi is a god gamer. Let's go check on him, see how he's doing. I've god mode on. How you doing, Rafi? Yeah, that jank just happened. If you, like, fall on those spikes, but don't die, they just get, like, parented to you really weirdly like this. They didn't really, like, intend for the player to survive this. Alright, Hundun's dead, so the door is open now. Rafi's gonna need to have an accident here. Yep, he had an accident. Alright, let's go see what happens if we die entering this door. I need to be facing to the right. Alright, this is probably going to be the same outcome where it just skips the cutscene because all the players are dead. But it still counts as a win. Teleport on the last frame. I die with the up dog. Level fades out. Weird camera. Cutscene ends immediately and we go to credits. So yeah, that looks like the exact same outcome. This is what we expected, but I wanted to verify that nothing was different about it. I think the camera is actually based on like where the camera was in the previous level. So that's why it's in a different spot. I think it just depends on where the door was in the level coordinates, and then it gets snapped by like the level boundary. That's probably what's going on with that. But you can see everyone's dead, but we still get a win. It still shows us the journal. And if it was 12:02, if I go back to the main menu, it should also count as a win here in the player profile, this thing that nobody ever looks at. Let's see. Actually, it doesn't. Interesting. Ooh, does it not count as a win? Like, for the purposes of that? That's actually weird. That didn't go in as my last game played. Might be no save, but I thought no save writes to your stats but doesn't save them. I thought that's what no save does. I kind of want to know. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay close attention to this. So we have a 152 from 1-3. I'm going to quote-unquote play through an entire game from a shortcut and see if this happens. So I'm going to go through every level transition like you would normally, but I want to see if it'll show up in that screen or not. So this is like a legit run. There's no reason why the game wouldn't be able to register this. We will have God mode on, so I'm going to go Turkey. I'm going to give it to Rafi. He's going to pick it up. I'm going to finish every level normally, all the way up to Tiamat. We're going to perform the glitch, and we're going to see if it counts it as a win or not. It'd be hard to say for sure, because it could be overlucky no save, but I don't want to turn that off, because that is going to fuck with my stats, like, really badly. Like, even more than they've already been ruined. Well, let's just see what happens here. Alright, so I have God mode on. I can just do this. Oh, yeah, of course I'd get the YOLO port. Sure. Yeah, well, it's fine. Why do I even turn on God mode? I don't need it. Just... Well, that would have killed me. I think. Wait, no, that did kill me. That was another YOLO port. There was an All Might there. I would have telefragged the block. Cool. That's 2 for 2. Let's do one more. I literally would have survived all those teleports without God mode turned on. I hate this game. Alright, into the door we go. Pure talent. Hello, Blue-Red. We're investigating the weird last frame, like, shenanigans with, like, mounts to see if we can get anything interesting and weaponizable out of it. Nothing hugely groundbreaking, just a few interesting interactions here. So Rafi needs to die. First try every time, because I'm not speedrunning. And this is a clean run. We ran the whole thing. Let's see if this counts as a win on the player profile. That is what we're currently testing right now. I don't know what to expect from this. It could be overlucky no save. I thought overlucky no save causes it to write to the save data, but then not like actually write to the file itself. I think it's this one here. Yeah, I think this just prevents it from writing to your save file, was my understanding, but I could be wrong about that. I don't think we care that much about this because the criteria for a Moss ranking run has always been to see the journal at the end of the run. So I'm assuming that this is fine. You either need to see the journal or the entire category needs to be summarized by like the tracker and the like scoreboard at the end, I think is what the Moss ranking rules are for this. So I would say that it probably doesn't matter. Even if the game doesn't count it as a win in the player profile, I don't think anybody cares. So entity tester, selection, Turkey, go into the door. Wait for 36 frames. God mode is off. Teleport. Let's see if this counts as a win or not. Alright, so we get the cutscene skip. I think 2-player runs count towards your player profile, right? It could be that, actually. I wonder if 2-player runs don't count. I think 2-player runs count. I don't know. Player profile is weird. Do they not count? That could be it. That could be the reason why that didn't count. I could do this in single player with a little bit of shenanigans. Wow. Look how fast that was. The HD world record is faster than my fucking cheated shortcut run. I don't think it counted. I don't know. Well, there's one other way to find out. Let's finish it actual run. Actual as in just single player run. I'm just going to do another shortcut run. I'm going to skip through every level. We're going to kill Tiamat. We're not going to do the glitch. Let's see if that counts in your player profile. And then if that's the case, then it's just co-op that affects it. Which might be it. I don't actually know. This game is stupid. Peru. We're fine. We're fine. I haven't taken any damage so far because I'm really good at this game. I need to write a script that just teleports to the exit. Like, I need to add that to my toolbox. Just that you turn it on and you spawn at the exit of the level. I need to do that at some point. First try every time. We literally have done this like 6 times and have not missed the kill on Tiamat. Normal exit. I'm gonna fast forward all this. Doesn't matter if I have God mode on. I don't care about any of that. By some miracle, this actually still works even if you have God mode on, because the NPC just goes to where the character is instead of like a scripted position. Honestly, remarkably competent, but it gets cancelled out by the fact that you could soft block that cutscene if you have the wrong combination of mounts and hired hands, so it's really, it breaks even. Why can't we skip this? Like, come on. Devs, you knew people were gonna speedrun this game. And soft lock, yeah, I don't know what, I actually don't know what causes it. I'd have to watch like a clip of it. But there's some combination of having like a mount and like an item in your hand and maybe a hired hand or something, and I don't know what all goes into it, but there's a situation where like what's-his-face will pick up your mount and not you, and then he'll jump into the ship and then you are just laying on the ground and the cutscene never ends. I don't know exactly what the circumstances are that cause it. Player profile. That counted. Okay, so I think it's actually co-op that prevents it. We don't have a good... Hello, Captain. We don't have a good way to find out how this is going to work. Yeah, he saves the mount. I just don't know what causes him to save the mount instead of the player. Because I think normally that works. There's just some order of operations that causes it not to. Let's see, what could I do here? Try single player TP death. Well, here's the problem. I can't get a mount with a lower entity ID than my player entity in that level. I'm going to try the respawn player feature. This is going to be a little janky and may not, like, properly emulate the situation, but I'm going to try the respawn player feature. Hired hand holding mount does not work. Hired hands... I went over this earlier, but I think you just came in. Hired hands spawn before the player, but their held items spawn after the player. It's infuriating. It's so close to working, but no matter what they're holding, the held item spawns after the player entity. For some fucking reason. Alright, so we're gonna try this in single player. I'm gonna go all the way to Tiamat. Actually, I could just warp to Tiamat. I'm pretty sure we know that this would work. You know what? No, I gotta do a control test. We finally missed a teleport, chat. All our good RNG is gone. Alright, so if I warp, does that count as a win? I want to be thorough about this because I do want to know if there's something along the way where the game like doesn't detect it as a win. So we're being thorough about this, even if this is a little bit mundane, because I don't want to miss something. So is this going to go into the player profile? And if so, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to try to get myself killed on the fade out, and we're going to find out if that goes to the player profile. Like, does it actually count as a win as far as the game is concerned, or does it show you the journal, but mark it as a loss? Because this game is weird. And I don't want to skip through any of that or use any warps because I'm afraid that it'll actually break it. Like, it won't emulate the situation properly. Player profile. We should have a super... Yeah, we have a 13-second Tiamat win. So that counts. I can just warp there. So I'm going to start the game in the camp normally, and then I'm just going to warp there, and I'm going to do some player crushing shenanigans to get a mount with a different entity ID than the player. Alright, warp to Tiamat. Turn off God mode. Prevent myself from dying. Or rather, prevent the death screen. So now I can die, and then I should be able to respawn myself. Let's see, where is it? Players. I accidentally spawned Rafi. There we go. Okay, so now we have a player entity again, so that'll work. Let's spawn the turkey and do that again. Or, I don't know, an axolotl. I'll just use a different map for the hell of it. And I should kill Tiamat as well. Suggest a poll. Poll for best pathing. Jungle, Temple, Volcano, or any of my mods here. Severin, you're here. You want to make a poll? You haven't had to make a poll in a while. Is that going to die? Yeah, okay, good. That's going to die. Alright, so 8445. I can't actually, like, lose the game right now, so I'm going to respawn the player. I don't like the fact that I have... Oh, it's a button. Never mind, I'm a dumbass. I thought that was... How can I tell that's a button? Greg, why doesn't this look like a button? I know why... It's a menu option. I know this is a menu option, like one of these. That's the reason why it looks like that. But it confused the fuck out of me because I thought that was just text. Okay, that's actually a button that you can interact with. So I'm back now. My entity ID is 12731. I now have an axolotl in the level with a lower entity ID. I should be able to do the funny now. Let's see if this counts as a win or not. Alright, pick them out. And wait for the fade out. And dead. Alright. Tide pool. I don't think anybody writes tide pool like that, but that's tide pool. Usually just tide or temp is the way that I would have phrased that, but like I get the intent behind it. Alright, so we got the usual cutscene skip. Nothing out of the ordinary, and we did just emulate this as though we didn't have a second player in the game. But I just want to see if this ends up in the player profile. Alright, 141, 250. Yeah, it counts. Okay, well there you go. If there was ever any doubt in the rules about whether or not this counts as a win... Well, the question was best pathing. That's not quite it. No, the question was best pathing, which is not the same thing as best route. Like, I'm not sure, I don't know, I guess if you want to clarify exactly what you meant, I would have interpreted best pathing as just levels that are the least, like, tedious to navigate. Not so much like the difficulty of the level itself, but levels that generate in such a way that it's easy to know where to go, is kind of how I would have interpreted that. I'm going to have to go for Volcano Tide Pool for that one, because Jungle is, like, horrendously tedious to path through because of how many Jape rooms it has in it. And Tide Pool only has, I think, one, like, really gross Jape room, but Temple has a couple, so I'm voting Volcano Tide Pool as my personal opinion. Yeah, co-op is the issue. Don't remake it, it's fine. I think it's up to viewer interpretation what was meant by that poll, but I'm going Volcano Tide Pool as my personal opinion. For just best pathing in general, like, easiest level to find the exit is how I interpret that question. Can I skip this, please? Oh, right, I thought I was in the credits at the end for some reason. So yeah, co-op doesn't go in your player profile, but for anybody who wants to be super, like, anal about this, it actually does count as a win as far as the game is concerned. So, we have one more thing to test, and that is Cosmic Ocean, before we move on to the Ankh. So we can actually just emulate this same exact thing with a single player, and I'm going to do that to keep these clean. So we don't need to have Rafi, I could just kill Valerie and respawn her in order to do this. So let's go to Cosmic Ocean. You meant best route. I wonder what my answer... honestly, I think my answer is the same, but this is a vague question. So I mean, it's also up to interpretation, because it depends on what you're trying to do in your run. If you're trying to go Cosmic Ocean, Volcano Tide Pool, like, for sure. If you're trying to do, like, other categories or have, like, other kinds of fun, like, you could make an argument for Volcano Temple or Jungle Tide Pool, depending on, like, what you're trying to accomplish in your run. So it varies. It's thought-provoking, if nothing else. In AG, you lose if you go Volcano Tide Pool, but, like, I don't know if we're always talking about AJE or not. So anyways, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to spawn... we've tried every map at this point, and they don't seem to be any different, but let's spawn the up dog, because that's the one you'd most likely have for $7.99. And then let's go to $7.98. And then I'm going to do my funny player, like, kill the entity shenanigans, so let me make sure that sheet is still on. Alright, so I'm going to die, and then respawn my player. There's a shortcut for this, and I don't remember what it is, and I'm too afraid to just press them at random, so I'm just going to do it like this. Now I have a player with a higher ID than this up dog. So let's go find the exit and win the level. I do have to break these because the door won't be interactable otherwise. Here's your Cosmic Ocean, chat. Anybody who wanted to see me play CO today. Here it is. There's the jelly. I'm just playing the level normally. I mean, I have God mode on, but I'm just playing it normally. Hopefully I don't get hit by that arrow in the loop. Alright, so I need a teleporter as well. Whoa, CO! Exciting! I keep typing in teleporter, even though I could just use the hotbar on the bottom to get one. Alright, so let's see here. I can't... I wonder if I could teleport up. I'm not going to squander this, but I do wonder if you could teleport up to guarantee the death while you do this. I am just going to make sure that I die by blocking this off instead, but I actually wonder if I could teleport up. I don't know how a caveman survived that. Alright, let's see here. God mode off. Let's find out what happens if you die during this cutscene. I believe what's going to happen is I'm going to be a player ghost animating into the middle of it, and then I'm going to get a win. But that's just the prediction I'm making. Alright, so we die. Fade to black. Let's watch it in slow motion. Player ghost. Yep, player ghost is just doing like the animation to go back into the middle. Oh, that sound effect does not like slow motion. It does not know what to do right now. My sprinklers are running. Oh god, chat, I'm sorry. Flashbang. And we got a Sigma. Sort of. Pretty cool looking. A reverse Sigma. It's a 3, or it's like a reverse Sigma. Doesn't really look like an E. Alright, well, I'm gonna stop frame advancing now. So, I mean, as far as this is concerned, it looks like we got a win. Yeah, this is about what I was expecting. This is most likely going to be in the player profile as well. Now, CS2, you never know. You never know when you're going to get flashbang, and it counts as a win. Yeah, so you're just dead in the cutscene, but it still gives you the win. So it doesn't help at all. Notably, this one doesn't speed things up because there is no outro cutscene that you could skip. You can't skip the Cosmic Ocean, like, constellation thing. Welcome back, Ted. Or, I don't know if you left, but I don't think you could skip any of that. So it doesn't save any time. It just looks cool. You could try to, like, kill yourself while doing that if you just want to do a funny, and it would still count as a win. So that's how that works. I want to test whether or not you can hold directional inputs while you're doing this glitch. That's something we haven't tested, so I'm going to actually go back and I'm going to see how directional inputs work. We know that you could down throw. I wonder if you could teleport up or down. I'm guessing that you can't teleport down because on a mount that would usually just perform the mount action, but the mount does like despawn on that last frame. I'm not getting rank 69 back. I'm washed. There's like no hope for me. But anyways, I want to see what happens here. So I'm going to spawn more turkeys. I'm going to put them on my hotbar like an intelligent person. That's a turkey neck. We don't want that. And I want this on my hotbar. There we go. All right, we have turkeys now. And we could do our funny like player ID shenanigans to get this turkey to have the right ID. So I'm going to turn on God mode. I'm going to make a new turkey at the bottom of the level, actually, now that I think about it. Brand new turkey. Alright, so I need to get myself killed. And then I respawn. Fine, I'm going to go look at the hotkey. What is it? Respawn. Control R. That's what I thought it was, but I was too afraid to find out. Oh, fuck. Oh my god, I'm getting spawn camped. I didn't have time to turn God mode back on. Alright, so what happens if I try to hold up while I do this? Make sure that would kill me. That is a lethal teleport, no matter what I do. Right? No, that's not always lethal. I need to make sure it'll kill me. Alright, that is a lethal teleport, guaranteed. So what happens if I hold up while I do this? I gotta listen to the noise update soundtrack at some point. That'll be in a future stream. I'm not gonna listen to it on the stream, rather. I'm just gonna listen to it off stream, pick out the ones I like. So the game actually still thinks we're holding up, interestingly enough. It's just letting us do that. Yeah, okay, you actually get the upward direction from your teleport. So if you really needed to, you could pulp yourself in the ceiling while doing this glitch. And then the fade out happens. I'm dead. And then I can respawn myself to continue what we're doing here. So let's see, the other thing I wanted to test was going down, and also whether you can hold up after the animation starts. Alright, so now I have a turkey. I'm getting this streamlined here. This is a lot more efficient. Can you drop an item like this? I don't know. But you can throw items. I don't know if you can, like, drop them. Can you TP down? That is exactly what we're going to try here. Even if it doesn't kill me, honestly, I'm going to try it anyways. Let's see if anything interesting happens. So, I'm going to go into the door to the left, and I'm going to hold down. Well, actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold up after the door entry, and see if I can actually input up with that. Then I'm going to try it down TP. So we're in the door entering animation. I'm holding up now. Let's see if we can still get an up TP or not. Yeah, it still teleports you up, though I survived, I believe, because I got a long teleport. So it doesn't matter when you hold the button, you can actually do that input, and the game will register it correctly. So the last thing to test is the downward teleport. So once again, we're going to have an accident. I'm going to respawn, so I have a new player entity. Yeah, this is so much better than having another player do this. Why am I so stubborn? I should have just done this the whole time. Oh, there were turkeys in the level anyways. Level sucks. Oh my god. How far do I have to go? Alright, so. Let's try it down. So pause. Pick the turkey. It should have a lower ID than I do by just a little bit. That's all it takes, just one. Alright, I'm holding down. You actually get a teleport. Interesting. Because the mount can't crouch, I think it's unable to do like the mount's like crouching action, which would just be like a headbutt or whatever. So instead you get a teleport. It's either that, or this is because the mount has like despawned before the player entity. So I'm like not riding it for a frame, but I think I am technically riding the mount. Because the mount is also down here with me. Technically not on the ground. I don't know, there's another way that we can test this, which... what does a first frame down teleport do on a mount? I don't know what a first frame down TP is on a mount. What do you actually do? Tough to say. Let me do a frame advance. You telepack. We could try that. You can actually teleport forward when you do that. So it's... The thing is, so the mount came with me when I did the teleport. So that means the game thinks I'm on the mount, but it also must have thought it was airborne or in some state where it wasn't like looking at its standing on value. Possibly because I was entering the door, and maybe that like just flags me as not standing on it at the end. I don't know. This is one of those things I could figure out the answer, but it wouldn't be very helpful since there's not really anything else we can learn from it. What we know is that it is actually possible to down TP. But you have no guarantee of that killing you. Actually, I wonder if you do. Where does the teleport originate from? Actually, I think that is guaranteed to kill you. Because you're gonna get a 4 teleport at the minimum. which would kill you, unless your character is high enough for it to not count as a 4 teleport. I'm not sure where the teleport origin is. It's probably based on where the mount is. So yeah, I think a down TP in the door is actually guaranteed to kill you if there's no floor under it. So if you're not in like Sunken City or something, or Olmec, I guess, I think that would be guaranteed to kill you. Or at the very least, extremely likely to kill you. Alright, so can we use the telepack? Well, that brings up a few other questions, which was like, can you get off of a mount, for instance? Can you use the telepack? Can you do this? Can you do that? So I'm going to try a few things here. I'm going to try to get off the mount for this particular attempt. And I'm just going to warp to an easier level to do this. But can I get off the mount? I see a Pigo. I think he might be gone already. I don't even know if I responded to the gotta go or not. I did see it. But I'm a bad streamer. I apologize. I'll never be a good streamer. Alright, so respawn myself. Or maybe not being able to read chat is like part of like the rite of passage for becoming a good streamer, but you give up the ability to read your chat properly. So what we're going to try to do in this situation is I'm going to try to dismount the turkey. So this is not going to kill me or anything. I'll turn off God mode anyway. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, see ya. You have a nice whatever time of day it is there. I don't know. I shouldn't assume. There are countries other than America. Believe it or not, chat. I've seen them. I have a world map that I can look at, and there's like a bunch of other places there, and I think it's not daytime or nighttime guaranteed in any of those places. It varies. So what I'm trying to do here is select the turkey again. Let's go into the door. And let's go find that. You're in Australia. Okay, see, good thing I didn't assume. Yeah, it's almost as far away as it can get. It is... What time is it in Australia? It's like fucking, like, 10 a.m. or some shit. Something like that. Alright, so let's see when this is turkey gonna go through. What I'm gonna try to do on this particular frame, I'm holding up. I'm gonna try to jump off the turkey. Just to see if anything happens. Alright, I just did the input. Up and jump on the last frame. Let's see if we're riding the turkey. We are still riding the turkey. That's interesting. We know that you can get off the turkey if you use plasma cannon recoil. Oh, did I calculate it the wrong way around? It's 5 p.m. Oh, I'm thinking of like the UK, which I think I'm still off by an hour or two. I'm thinking of the UK. I'm thinking in the wrong direction. So sorry, dumb American. Forgive me. Time zones are hard, alright? Why can't everyone just have the same time zone? Everything would be so much easier. What a time to be alive that would be. I didn't like that turkey anyways. Alright, so I could not get up off the turkey. Oh. Yeah, that's right. I can just use this rock dog, can I? Can I have that, please? Thank you. Could you please stop making screeching noises? Holy fucking shit, you are annoying. Alright. So we can use this rock dog to do it. I don't even have to pulp Valerie. Let's go ahead and try the other one, which is holding down and getting off of the map. So once again, we go into the door. Alright, bye for real. Daylight savings, fucking ass. I live in Arizona. It's like the only state except part of like Washington, I think, that like doesn't do daylight savings. I don't remember. There's another state that doesn't do it. It's like the only redeeming quality this place has is that they don't do daylight savings. Alright, so I'm holding down. And let's get off the map. I don't think this is going to work. I don't think you can get off the map. They do daylight savings. What's the other state that doesn't? I know there's 2 of them, or at least part of another state that doesn't do it. But I'm uninformed in this matter. Hawaii? Oh, maybe it's Hawaii. Now, that's what I was expecting, but I'll take your word for it. You seem confident in what you're talking about right now, so it's probably Hawaii. Good for them. They figured out that daylight savings is a pointless and extremely obsolete concept that should not exist anymore. Gonna try to change it. I don't understand why try to change it is even a problem. Why don't we just not do it? Nobody likes it. Literally nobody likes it. Why the fuck don't they just do it? I don't know what is like standing in the way of this change. Fucking government. Oh well, at least we're in a dictatorship. This country, the United States, is the opposite of a dictatorship. It is a country where the government can't do anything. Instead of being able to do anything it wants, the government just can't do anything at all. Everything is a fucking miserable stalemate of just nothing happening. Like, I know I'm being very, like, dramatic and exaggerated about this, but it's so frustrating how super fucking obvious things that any normal person would want just get stuck, like, in the house forever. Because the house wants, like, some fucking other bill to get passed so that they can, like, keep the Mexicans out and build a wall or something, and just nothing ever happens in this goddamn country because of that. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because if things did happen in this country, it would just get worse even faster than it does normally. When we update all equations to have current be in the direction electrons flow. I don't know enough about electronics to relate to that statement. I'm assuming it's also something dumb, like where there were like two like differing like ways to depict something involving like electric current, and both of them ended up like succeeding. And now we have to just deal with both of them, but I can't say I know what you're talking about here. So, somebody wanted to know about dropping things. And I think it's going to be like the same thing we saw with the Arrow of Light, where it's going to be a down throw. Because normally you cannot drop items while you're on a mount. You do this if you hold down, you throw the item, or if you're holding up, you up throw the item. I don't believe anything particularly interesting is going to happen here. But we're going to go ahead and try it. So, what if we have something like this? And we go into the door. And I'm just going to throw this rock. Like, I'm going to try to drop it specifically. I think it's just going to down throw it. There's not a whole lot to learn about this. And throw. I can't actually even see what happened here, but I can check the velocity of the rock. 32, 72. Really? I'm dumb. 42, 72. Yeah, we did down throw the rock by the look of things, because it has velocity. It's being thrown to the right. It's being thrown at about this angle, which is pretty normal, I think, for this. Hold on, I gotta read this. One static method made it go one way, the other made it the other way, and they named one positive and negative. So you're telling me that there's like two different like interpretations of a negative current. I mean, I don't know which one I like. Electrons are negative, apparently, like in like atomic physics. I don't know how it works for like current specifically. No. What are we knowing? Is cosine really that like hopeless? Okay, analyzing the circuits. So it's specifically circuitry that you're talking about here. Oh my god, I swear to god, how does every stream I have, it results in a discussion about electronics where I have to admit that I have no goddamn idea what I'm talking about? Like, it's just, I just missed it. Like, I never had, like, any opportunity to fucking, like, learn it properly, and I just never did. They made a convention 300 years ago, and now it's stupid and bad. Really, was that? Well, I guess, yeah, I guess we were dicking around with electricity a while ago, weren't we? Yeah, they usually use electricity. I know that part. I know not to touch, like, zappy shit. I understand the basic concept of how not to electrocute myself, but beyond that, I don't know how to read a circuit diagram. I don't know how to understand anything that, like, is depicted there. Alright, so anyways, that was a throw. Alright, well, while we talk about this in chat, what else do we want to see here before I move on to the Ankh? Like, specifically the Ankh Permadeath scenario. Did I know yeah, I knew about that. Yeah, the Undertale thing. Undertale is very badly programmed, but nobody plays Undertale, like, for a robust, like, complicated game. They play it for the story, and, like, the music and the characters. Undertale can get away with that because, like, there's not that much going on gameplay-wise. And it works well enough. It gets the job done. If you tried to do that for like a much bigger game, you would get punished for it. But Undertale managed to get away with it. Alright, we want to see telepack. Let's see if we can do a last frame teleport. Alright, let's see here. I've God mode on. Whatever, I'll make a new one. Alright, there's our exit. So I'm going to take this off, make a rock dog or a turkey or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to have an accident. I don't believe the entity ID for the telepack should matter here. It's currently lower than the player, but the player is responsible for initiating the teleport action anyway, so that should be irrelevant. Let's see here. Let's again pick the entity I want. Let's just, yeah, we'll let myself die during it if it happens. I don't think it'll matter. We'll be able to see if it worked or not. I suspect it's not going to do anything, but we had that weird down teleport. Usually you can only teleport down when you're not on the ground, so maybe we'll get a telepack input on this frame. Let's find out. I'm just going to press jump without holding any directions. Speaking of Undertale. Or doggy. That doggy is just making noise constantly. It needs to be quiet and chill out while I try to do science. What did he ever do to me? He made noise. Alright, I tried to press jump on that frame and nothing happened, so I don't think we're going to be able to actually use the telepack. Like, I don't really see any other way to go about doing that. I pressed jump on that last frame and just nothing happened. I could try this with like maybe one more back item and make sure that it has like a higher ID this time. Well, I guess we'll just, you know, let's try the telepack with a higher entity ID. So we're not going to use this one. I'm going to kill myself and then spawn in the telepack is what I'm going to do. Alright, so the turkey is the correct ID, but we have a higher ID telepack. So I'm going to carefully make sure that I get to the bottom of the level without losing any of these things. Never mind, I'm going to die. Let's see here, I need to get rid of this. Okay, let's try that again. But let's go to the bottom of the level first before we spawn the items in. That sound like a good idea? Oh my god, what is 2-1? Why are there so many fucking enemies in here? Please, go away. Just leave me alone. Okay, that's about as normal as this is gonna get. Let's spawn the turkey. Then I'm gonna have an accident and respawn. And then we're gonna spawn the telepack, and then I'm gonna try to press jump. And if that doesn't do anything, I don't know what will. I wonder if you could do door cancel with this. Oh god, I gotta try door cancel permutations. How does door cancel work on a mount? I don't actually know. I wonder if like blowing up the tiles under the door. Oh, there's so many permutations to this. I gotta at least like poke my head in and see if there's anything interesting that happens. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do, telepack. With higher ID than player. That's the only thing that we've changed here, is this telepack has a higher ID than the player does. If I recall correctly, mount door cancel is not a thing that you could do normally. Alright, jump did not do anything, the telepack there. I don't think you can use your jump, which means door cancel might not work properly. But we haven't tried it properly yet. First of all, I don't want to be here anymore. And let's do door cancel with an item that is less volatile. So, let's see, jetpack. Alright, so same setup as before. I'm gonna die. I'm also gonna destroy the jetpack. I'm gonna respawn. I'm gonna give myself a jetpack. This is a typical situation. Turkey generated with level, player, then jetpack. Can we do door cancel with this? So we would have to do this with a bomb. I don't think anything's gonna happen here, but I just don't know enough about all these like different permutations of glitches. All right, so we are entering the door now. So this would normally be when you could do a door cancel, but I can't do it with the turkey. I'm actually pressing and releasing jump here. I cannot do it normally with the turkey here, but can I do it on this last frame? Would it matter? I don't think it would. I think the level will end anyways, in which case, even if we could door cancel on the last frame, it's not going to stop the level from ending, and there would be no point in it. But I'm just checking to see if it can happen. Like, at all. So maybe this rabbit hole isn't nearly as deep as I thought it would be. And jump. Doesn't look like anything happened. We are still on the turkey. It would let you use the telepack. That's true. Okay, let's try it with the telepack then. I don't think it's gonna work, but let's do it. So once again, I need to die. I need to respawn. I need the telepack, and then we take all this down to the bottom of the level without exploding. All right. Let's try it. We're gonna try it anyways. I think the odds of this working are very slim, but we're gonna try it anyways. Because you never know. Put this up about like in 5 frames or something. Alright, so I'm trying to press jump like every couple frames here and nothing is happening. I'm still trying to press jump, nothing is happening. And then the last frame that we would get, it's coming up here. And probably nothing is going to happen. Nothing happened. Okay, so no door cancel with this glitch, at least not with any of the permutations that I tried. Now we know. So let's see, what other questions did we have about this glitch before I try the Ankh scenarios? Actually, how do I want to categorize the Ankh here? We could see what, you know what, this is kind of part of the same segment anyways. What happens if I die with that Ankh doing this? So let me go to the exit. And we're going to do a down TP because those seem to always be lethal. So I need a teleporter. I need a turkey. I keep forgetting I have these cool buttons down here. And then I complain about how hard it is to use that spawner window because I'm a dumbass. Right, I need to get myself killed so that I have the right entity ID first. So just give this a moment here. Oh, we're sacking myself. I could have done that, but it's faster to just pulp yourself in the wall. Yeah, the Ankh revive, by the way, your body doesn't like regenerate when you do that. It kind of just moves the body. So I need to actually like pulp myself in the wall for that to count and give me the right entity ID. Which, let's see. Yeah, good, we're higher now. Alright, so same drill as usual. I'm gonna try to die with the Ankh in my inventory during this door entry. What horrendous state is this gonna put me in when I do this? Like, am I gonna perma-die? Am I gonna get teleported back up to the door? I'm not really sure what it's gonna do. Alright, so we have died with the Ankh on the last frame of the level, and we're fading out. It is not reviving us. That's bad. I think I'm dead. I think the run is over even though I have the Ankh because I died during that frame. Yeah, we're fucked. Okay, so that's what happens if you do that with the Ankh. You die anyways, the Ankh cutscene does not play. This is what I was expecting to happen, honestly. Because this is very similar to what happens in co-op if you die on the last frame of the level. The Ankh cutscene does not play, and you're just fucking dead. Now, we could segue this into the Permadeath bug, which is a co-op glitch. And I'm going to show that here, like as part of this same segment, because it is like superficially related to like ending the level while a player dies or does some jank. This one you don't need the mount for. And yeah, by the way, the death screen would have showed up right now. It just, I have the cheat turned on and not ever show the death screen, so I can just respawn myself like this. But we're gonna do this with co-op now, and I'm gonna show like the permadeath scenario. So you don't need a mount to do this. You can actually do this in co-op because you just need somebody else to leave the level for you. Now I'm trying to think how entity ID order would play into this. So let's go into the level. Rafi has a lower ID than I do. If Valerie were to be the one that leaves the level, Rafi would have time to like get himself killed in that level. I'm actually going to turn on the pest control mod because I don't need natural turkeys anymore because I found a better way to do it. So let's just delete all that shit. Let's think about how this works. You have a fake player. Well, I mean, there's a local co-op player. I just am using different keyboard controls to control Rafi right now. It's difficult, but I mean, you could do it. Nothing's preventing you from just binding your controls to something. You can also make a fake player with Spelunky, but in this case, it's actually like a local co-op player. Believe me, I do not have another human being on this planet that is in this like room with me playing this game. I'm doing this myself. Rafi is not sentient anyway. So let's think about how this works. So the scenario is that a player dies, and teleporter is always the easiest way to make this happen. I don't think it matters how you die, but we could try like both kinds of deaths, the ones that do and don't leave a body. So I could get Rafi killed if he's over here facing a wall, and I go through this door. But the question is, what entity ID order is going to happen here? And I think what's going to happen is on the last frame of the level, Rafi is going to tick. So his inputs are going to get processed. He's going to die. And then Valerie is going to trigger the end of level sequence. Now, if we were to do that the other way around and Rafi left the level, Rafi would trigger the end of level sequence, but that would not prevent Valerie's character entity from ticking. So in theory, it should not matter what the player order is. We're going to check both to make sure, but I don't think player order matters for permadeath because the entire like entity state machine for every entity is going to execute before the level starts to fade out. That's how this seems to work every time. So let's go into the door. And this time we're going to be using player 1 for this. And I believe it's going to be the same exact thing. I need to wait for 0.027, and then I'm going to have Rafi input a teleport. Let's see, actually, with and without Ankh. I think the Ankh revive is the thing that bugs it out. Let's try it without the Ankh first, but I think the Ankh revive is what bugs it out. So we're going to do it with and without the Ankh. So Rafi has died on the last frame of the level. You've probably seen this happen in co-op before. It's not very uncommon. He should have a coffin in this level. Huh. Not to call nil value. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna make a stream marker. Oh, there it is. I made a stream marker cosine looking at whatever that bug was a few seconds ago. So Rafi should have a coffin in this level. God damn it, the coffins aren't spawning because of pest control. I need to fix that. Alright, never mind. So we'll turn that off, go to another level. Rafi should have a coffin in this level now. And he's in it. So everything is normal there. You just die and you respawn normally on the next level. The thing that gets really like janky and weird is if you have the Ankh while you do it. And that's the permadeath scenario. I think Rafi got knocked out of my hands by that arrow. That didn't damage him. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to test here first is I'm going to have player 1 be the person that dies during this transition. And we're just going to verify that... I didn't mean to spawn that in. We're just going to verify that this doesn't actually change anything. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to die during this while Rafi leaves the level. So, same thing as before. Set the selector to player 2 this time. Onto the door. God mode is turned off. And die. Coffin respawn changed entity order. Oh, did it? Oh, good call out. Thank you. I was not paying attention to that. Let me just restart the whole run then to get it into a clean state. Again, it probably doesn't matter, but I do want to test this correctly. So God mode on. We'll spawn a new teleporter down there. Now we definitely have the correct order. Alright. So I can die by just teleporting from here. Alright, that'll kill Valerie. Let's have Rafi go into the door. Alright, so to confirm, Rafi has entity ID 995, Valerie's 998. This should not matter at all. I should die and then everything will be fine. So God mode off. And I still have the frame where I can teleport in the wall. Okay, so we don't need to test those scenarios anymore, because ultimately all the entities tick before the level actually triggers the fade out, so it's not going to matter. But now we have to worry about the Ankh. So let's see, I don't actually know what field is triggering that error message. It'd be immovable. Whatever, that's on my end to figure that out later. I'm just gonna have to look at that until I figure it out. Oh my god, the fucking squeaking like mount noises is just, or not mounts, the pet noises are so fucking annoying when you're just trying to like do science. And it's just literally the equivalent of having a dog outside your window just barking constantly. So let's try this with the Ankh now. I'm just gonna do a clean restart, it'll be easier. So let's see, I want Rafi to have the permadeath situation happen because it'll be easier to deal with that. I can control Valerie while I look for the coffin. So let's go down to the exit. Let's bolt the hamster. And I need coffins, so I can't turn on pest control because it's a badly programmed mod. It's one of the earlier ones that I made. Alright, Rafi, I got something for you to do here, buddy. So you are going to look at this wall, and you're going to die as I leave the level. Right about now. God mode off. Alright, so Rafi has died, and the Ankh cutscene has not played. He's dead in this screen. Now, my understanding is in online co-op, this results in a really bizarre camera. Yeah, there we go. This is the permadeath situation. The reason this happens, which I think Drago explained, let me see if I can show it. The reason why this happens is because of, there's always jank. There's always jank involved. So if I look at the game state, look at the player inventories. The game is like checking like two different things when the player is dead, because for some reason one wasn't good enough. And let's see if I can figure out which one it is just looking at this. So like Rafi has 0, yeah, that's what it is. It was time of death. Rafi has 0 health in this level, so he spawns as a ghost, but the game is looking for a player with a time of death to figure out who to respawn from the coffins. This might have something to do with the respawn order for the players. I think time of death like tracks the ordering for when people died, and if your time of death is 0, then you are not like in the queue to respawn in a player coffin at all. So you just never respawn. That's the permadeath scenario. That happens because of the way the Ankh works, where the Ankh will let you have 0 health during the fade out, but it will not assign a time of death. Normally when you get killed, you would get a time of death. That, as far as I understand it, is the reason why this happens. Should see the way coffin queuing works in HD. I mean, I never fucking played HD with other players, so I really didn't get to experience the visceral agony of however that works. Let's see, it's state.items, player, inventory. Time of death. I'm going to give him a time of death. I'm going to spawn a coffin. This is the value player respawn. This is a respawn coffin for a player now. Let's see if that works. Now Rafi is back because he had a time of death. You weren't prepared to explain it. You know what I mean? I'll be okay if you don't explain it, but if Blue Red wants to know, then you can knock yourself out. But yeah, you can see there, I assigned a time of death to Rafi and then broke a player coffin, and now he's able to come back. And if he were to die normally, like fall on spikes or something here, I gotta get the coffin, or I gotta get the Ankh to actually go away. It is notable that he didn't actually lose his Ankh during any of that, but he can't come back at any point in the game anymore, so it doesn't matter that he had the Ankh, he just can't respawn. But you can see it right there, time of death was actually assigned. That was the total level timer up here that got assigned a time of death. This is what is deciding when the players spawn, based on who died first. And I think if there's a draw, it just picks whoever has the lowest player slot. So if you two die on the same exact frame, like player 1 would spawn before player 2. Because this is different from the entity ID order thing. I'm not like positive about that, but I think that's how that works. And it doesn't usually matter anyways. But that's how that works. That's the permadeath scenario. And I believe the permadeath scenario also happens if you do not lose your body. So we're going to try that as well, just to be like, yeah, port priority. It's basically port priority. We're going to try that as well to see if anything interesting happens here. So let's go back up and get Rafi. So we tested teleporter, which removes your body on the frame of death, but we have another way to cause you to die, and that's an explosion. So God mode off. Enter the door. We're tracking player 1 right now. So the way that the explosion entity works is you spawn it into the game, and then on the next frame, it inflicts its damage. So I'm going to need to actually do this 1 frame earlier than usual, because otherwise I don't think he'll die. Well, let me think about the numbers here. I might have done it too late. Actually, that might work. Yeah, on this frame. As the next frame ticks, I think he's going to get hit by that explosion and die. Yeah, you can see it right there. He actually got hit by the explosion, so never mind. I did have it on the correct frame. So let's see what happens here. So that's a normal death. He got assigned a time of death. We're going to deal with the Ankh after this. He has a time of death now. Notably, he still has 4 health according to this thing, but I think it's going to spawn him in dead anyways. Yeah, there we go. Just swapped it to 0. The game updates these values at different points during the unloading process, and it presumably saw that he was dead during the fade out and assigned him 0. And he's going to respawn in the coffin, like he would normally, because he has a time of death assigned. Welcome back. Now let's deal with the Ankh. Down to the exit. And we're going to do the same exact thing with an explosion. Put him just over here somewhere. Doesn't really matter. Alright, go into the door. And then on the last frame, we spawn an explosion entity. It kills him during that tick. That's not an explosion. That is Rafi. Alright, so Rafi has died on the last frame with the Ankh. We still fade out. He did not get assigned a time of death. So it doesn't matter how you die, whether or not you keep your body. Rafi did not get assigned a time of death. He is permanently dead now for the rest of this run. And I'm pretty sure it is literally for the rest of the run. I don't think there's any way to clear this glitch. That's the like cursed hired hand Rafi I think I accidentally spawned in, by the way. Or is it? Let's do that without the hired hand Rafi. He wasn't supposed to survive that. If he did survive that, I don't understand what happened there. Or I had God mode turned on. Let me just pretend that we didn't do any of that stuff. I can't see. Good enemy design. Alright, let's do that all again without God mode. Because I think that's what I did wrong here. Just editor, erase the previous part of the video. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that because I heard it make a noise once. Alright, let's do this correctly. I don't know how I just spawned in ropes. I pressed Shift F1, I think. Or Shift... I didn't know Shift 1 just gives you a care package. The fuck? Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, God mode off. Rafi, Ankh, Valerie, go into the door. Let's actually get an explosion to kill him this time. This is the real test here. Is this going to give him permadeath? I think it will. Rafi has died in the last frame of the level. The audio actually cut out, I think, for the Ankh to play, which is a good sign that it's doing what it's supposed to. You had 4 HP on the HUD. Well, you can't see it now. Shift F1 gives you whatever your selected spawn set is. Okay, I didn't even know I had a spawn set. He's dead now. Okay, I think I had God mode on the last one, and that's why that didn't work. Because now Rafi is dead. Am I a real scientist? I mean, I'm a real computer scientist. I got a degree. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, that means I'm real. Is this real science, what I'm doing here? I don't know. Maybe people find it to be important. But yeah, there we go. Permadeath with both scenarios. It doesn't matter if you keep your body or not. You get permadeath. And we could test this. So I can go to like the next level. Go find his coffin. Again, the game knows that I have a player ghost in the game, but he's not in line to respawn. So he's just never going to respawn. The same thing happens in online games. I've seen it happen. It's very rare. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Oh god. Oh, it's not coming, chat. Whatever, the sneeze, it'll come later. Anyways, I've seen this happen in online games. You're just dead. Until, like, the whole run, like, resets. Would never happen in a 2-player Cosmic run. Oh, for sure. In a super unreasonably dangerous place with all sorts of things that could kill you on the last frame of the level, no. No, that would never happen. You would never go to 750 and not have a player coffin there. How lame would that be if that could happen? I kind of don't want to take the time to go there. Hold on. I think it's 8. 5. I think it's technically World 8. This will either crash my game or it'll do what I want it to. Okay, it worked. No, you would never go to Cosmic Ocean with a dead player and have their coffin not be there. What a dick move that would be. Well, the coffin is there. It baits you into thinking that you would get your friend back, but yeah, actually, you're not going to get to see them for another 98 levels or 88 levels or whatever. If you push your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you won't... No, but I want to sneeze, because it'll come back later otherwise. That's the whole point of the sneeze, is to, like, resolve the problem that was initiated by it. And it's gone now, and I don't know when it's going to show up again. I just blew my nose. Maybe that'll help a little bit. What if I set the number to a negative value? I don't know what the type is on that number. Let me check real quick. Like, I could check whether the negative will actually, like, do anything meaningful or not, regardless of what, like, the Lua binding is set to. I'm just checking the actual source code for that variable for Overlunky, which isn't a guarantee. I think there have been a couple of variables that had the wrong typing. This one is unsigned, so negative will probably just overflow to positive. We can go ahead and assign it anyways and see what happens, but I think this is going to overflow. It's apparently a uint 32, which makes sense because this field should never be negative. So if I go back in here and set this to -1, yeah, you can actually see it happen here. It overflowed. So most likely he's going to respawn in the next coffin that I go to. So if I just go here or something. Nah. Oh, he's not back. Okay, hold on. I thought he was going to be there. That's interesting. I wonder if Overlunky has the type wrong for this value. So let's see, what other values can we try? Alright, so we could try like this. And that one's absolutely going to bring him back. Yeah, so that one will definitely bring him back. Oh god, I still gotta sit through this. I'm gonna give him permadeath without the Ankh. I'll just set his value back to 0. Why is OBS up now? How did I do that? There we go. Just keep doing it. Yeah, but I still feel like I want to sneeze constantly. I could get rid of the feeling for a longer time if I actually do it. Anyways, that's interesting. I wonder why he didn't respawn at the max value. Or -1. It could be that it's actually assigned and Overlunky, like, made the wrong assumption about it and it's checking for greater than 0. I don't know why. This number, this is the frame timer for like the run. It can never be negative, but I don't know. This video game does things. All right, so Ralphie's dead again. We're gonna set his time of death to 0. Make sure he doesn't respawn, because I think that's the only thing that actually affects that at all. Good, dark levels, I love it. Alright, he's not respawning anymore. So if we go to 1, 2, give him a time of death of this value here. What is that gonna do? Okay, so that is max int. I think that's max like signed int. I think he will respawn if I do that. Let's actually try the version where I think he won't respawn, which is this one. This is probably not going to respawn him. It does. What are they checking for? I don't know what they're checking for. Why would -1 and 0 not spawn him, but all the others do? Try -2, I guess. I don't know, this is a little bit pointless, but I'm curious why this is not working the way I was expecting it to. Alright, so if Rafi's dead, and I spawn in a new player coffin, and I set it to player respawn, and then I set his time of death to -2 instead, it should overflow. Well, underflow, I guess. Or is that an overflow? I don't know. They basically mean the same thing, just in opposite directions. -1 and 0 specifically do not spawn the player, but the other ones do. Why? So that's -2. That's -1. That's 0. And that's 1. Who the fuck made this game? Alright, well, I don't have an answer. I don't know why both values. Like, specifically, they checked both values. I have no idea why. What was the result of that poll earlier? Is there any way I could see that, or is that gone? I'm actually curious what people thought the best route was, but I forgot about that poll from earlier. And now I have no idea what the answer was. Well, hopefully whoever redeemed that got what they wanted out of that, because I don't remember. Yeah, Asim was the one who did it. Well, hopefully you paid attention, because I didn't. I wonder if there's a way I can get that to show up on stream. But yeah, I don't have an answer for this, other than spaghetti code. You forgot? Yeah, me too. -1 and 0 cause the player to not spawn, but everything else does cause them to spawn. Just specifically those two values do not. I do not understand what the distinction is between these two things. Like, why both values would be checked like that. Because players that aren't in the game also have 0 assigned to them. Everyone likes Volcano Tide Pool. Volcano Tide Pool is just objectively better for most categories is the problem, because they just didn't balance it. It's disappointing, honestly, because Tide Pool is a lot more fun than Tide Pool, but there's no good reason to go there if you want to win. So it's kind of lame. Most likely spaghetti. I don't know. This is something I am not equipped to understand. So that's all I think I had for permadeath and like getting off the mount and dying on the last frame of the level. Are there any other like thoughts or questions about this scenario? Like, I kind of lumped both of those things together, but does anybody have any ideas for like things you could do on the mounts as you're unloading the level, or things that you could do with like the Ankh permadeath, which as far as I'm aware is not useful at all, unless you really want a permanent ghost player for some reason. Which, I mean, technically can be useful to have a permanent ghost if you have someone who just doesn't want to be respawned. But it's probably not something you would want. Usually you just don't open a coffin if that's the case. So any other thoughts or questions on this, or can we move on to something else? I might do like one more subject before I end the stream here. Does anything interesting happen if you die with Ankh before the last frame of the fade out? I don't know what you mean by that. Nothing can happen during the fade out. Like, that's just not a thing that can happen. Like, once the fade out triggers, what happens is the game sets a pause state, like the fade state, which is what we've been calling it. And the ND state machines do not update during the fade out, like at all, or fade in. As the door is being entered... Well, I mean, what do you mean? We just tested that. Like, we tested that earlier with the teleporter, unless you weren't here for that part. But if you mean doing the funny, like, mount teleport thing, you could teleport off of the mount if it has a lower ID and telefrag yourself on the frame before the fade out starts. Like, that's how that interaction works. Is that the question you have, or is there some other, like, spot that you're thinking of that I'm not understanding? If you have 3 people and one is permadead and another isn't, will it respawn the non-permadeath players? Yeah, probably. We can check that real quick. Go to the game. I can just get another player to exist. Alright, so I'm going to perma-kill Rafi. I'm going to perma-kill Alto. I'm going to give Alto a time of death. He already has one, actually. I'm going to give Rafi no time of death. So Alto's time of death exists. Rafi's does not. And I think this is not going to matter, and it's just going to spawn Alto next coffin I open, even though he technically died later, because Rafi just can't spawn at all. I'm even going to leave the level just to kind of like clean up the game state and see if anything like different happens. So they're both dead, and we got a coffin here. That's Alto's coffin. It assigned a coffin to Rafi because it knows that he's dead, but there's nobody in it. So it's the same like concept. One player is permadead and it doesn't affect the other ones in any way. And since it's not possible to clone the Ankh, I'm pretty sure you can only have one player have this happen outside of like a modded run. You only get one permadead player per run. Sorry to disappoint anybody who wanted that, or more than one. Enter door. Die with Ankh multiple frames before fade out. Does anything happen? Well, you can't die while you're entering the door. You can't, yeah, you can't clone the Ankh, like even with the clone gun. For anyone who doesn't believe it, there are glitches that allow you to attempt this. It like just goes through it. It makes like a little particle effect and everything, but it doesn't clone the Ankh. So they like just... Ujedi, I think, is the other item you can't do this with. I forget if like the hedge hit or whatnot has that, but... What you mean is player 1 enters and player 2 dies with Ankh. It finishes... It should finish it. Well, I guess... Okay, you know what? No, that's actually a good point. That's something I hadn't thought of here. Because the Ankh executes a tick when it teleports you back to the door. Can't see shit. The Ankh executes a game tick when it teleports you back to the door, and I wonder if having the game end on that game tick would make any difference here. So that's a good call. We're gonna try that. That might have a different outcome, because it'll be a slightly different, like, timing for the death. If it's any earlier than that, I believe the cutscene will finish to completion, and then the door will finish the animation, and then the fade will start. So anyways, I need to get rid of Alto here. Game, players... Back to 2, there we go. Okay. Why is he still there? Am I stupid? Did I just not set it? I'm gonna restart the lobby here. I should get rid of him. Okay, there we go. He's gone now. Alright, so this is a good thing to check, actually. I hadn't thought about this. Because the on cutscene doesn't happen in 1 tick. It happens in 2, as far as I understand it. Now, I believe you do have control during that tick if you are not the reviving player. Alright, so, we're gonna have Rafi pick this up again. We're gonna turn God mode off. And the teleporter is, like, probably the easiest way to do this. I think it doesn't matter, actually, because the body doesn't get destroyed if you have the Ankh, so it most likely doesn't matter how he dies. But we'll use the teleporter for it. So we're gonna go through the door, but we're going to have him perish 1 frame earlier than we did in the original tests. Nah, I think I missed the window. I'm just gonna not kill him. I'll just go to the next level. Alright, so let's have him perish 1 frame earlier. He's gonna die if he teleports up here, so I'm just going to have him do that off screen. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not, because if something weird looking happens, I don't want to miss it. Alright, so need to turn God mode. God mode off. Go into the door. Pay attention this time. Okay, this game tick right here. Let's teleport. This is 1 earlier than usual. I pressed teleport on the wrong character. Alright, 1 more. I pressed Valerie's interact button. That is not what we wanted to do there. Where's Rafi? Damn, it didn't even break the arrow. Okay, this one for real, chat. I'm not gonna fuck it up this time. There are so many fucking enemies, and I need to update that pest control mod to not delete the coffins if they have players in them. The coffins make annoying noises, so I have those on the list of things to delete, and I never check for player coffins. Alright, last one for real. I have the correct button hovered on my keyboard. There's no way that I could possibly do this wrong. It is impossible. Nobody could mess this up. There's our game tick. Rafi, teleport. He doesn't have Ankh. Does he? Did I reset my run? Does Rafi have Ankh? Hold on. He does have Ankh, I think. I think I just saw that. Okay, I didn't reset. He has Ankh. We're fine. He has it. He has it. We're good. We're clear. Rafi, teleport. Alright, so. We have triggered the Ankh cutscene 1 frame earlier. The fuck? Huh. It like tried for a second, and then he's just here now. Like, it didn't play it or anything. He doesn't have a time of death. Let's see if he's dead. He lived. What the fuck? That is bizarre. He actually survived. Like, no God mode. It's not turned on right now. He actually survived that. Like, it put him back with, like, 4 health. Did he keep the Ankh? Well, let's find out. He does not have the Ankh. It actually used it during that game tick. I wonder if this is like a cutscene override of some sort. Does he keep back items in that case? Probably not if he, like, pulps himself. But we can check a few different things here. That's interesting that he survived that. Try a few frames early. We're gonna try a few different things. That'll be one of them. Let's go to jungle. Little bit more zoom. Okay, so we can get him to die again with the Ankh in this situation here. So let's see, he has a back item. Notably, I think he dropped his teleporter. I wasn't quite paying attention. Let's just go ahead and do this one again on the same frame and see if anything interesting happens. Just keep it simple. Let's do one thing at a time here. Teleport on this frame. So he dies. One more tick executes, and Rafi is just here, like in the throwing animation for some reason. But at this point, does he have his Ankh? Maybe. Alright, I can't interact with this menu. Well, we'll find out if he has his Ankh when the level fades out. Because it doesn't really matter at this point. It looks like he might have his jetpack on right now. You know, 4H, this doesn't update. This is not accurate. The player entity down here has different health than this thing until the level fades out now. And it looks like he actually survived, but it did execute like a insta-give death, so it dropped his items. So he does not have his jetpack. I want to see what happens now if we do that without a crush. So the easiest way to do that is going to be to spawn a bullet in him, or to blow him up. We could see if anything interesting happens if we blow him up as well. Because that would set the jetpack on fire, and I wonder if he'll take it with him if that happens. So we're going to try explosion first. So let's see. Let me remember the frame. So on the last frame, he would get ticked by the explosion. What frame do I want to blow him up on? I spawned it in... So if I spawned it on this frame, he's going to get hit by it on the next one. No, we don't want that. One more frame. We hit him with it on this frame. He blows up in the walking cutscene. No Ankh. Now, does he not have one right now? Yeah, you're probably right. Now let me give him the power up. Let's see. It needs to give power up. Okay, that should have worked now. He should have it now. We'll find out if he doesn't have it in a moment here. Alright, so I'm going to kill him with an explosion on this frame. He gets hit by it on this frame, which is going to initiate the Ankh cutscene. He's just there. The jetpack looks attached in that situation. That's so bizarre. You get like an instant revive when that happens. And he kept his jetpack as well. That is really interesting. Yeah, on cutscene skip. I don't know why that would be useful, but like, I guess that's a thing. Like, my theory for what's going on here is that the game is like stacking 2 cutscenes. Is that setting his health to 4? Probably. I guess we could find out. Let me give him a jelly. Alright, so he's got like 10 health now. We're gonna give him the Ankh. We're also gonna put an item in his hand. We know that if he gets crushed, he drops all his items. I'm pretty sure that this does count as like an Ankh usage. Which means it would set his health back, because he technically died, but he respawned like instantly. So let's see here. We can get Rafi to die to an explosion again. I want to see if he drops his teleporter. God mode off. He gets hit. He has 0 HP right now, according to the UI, and he has 4 health again. So it like, the tick that just occurred that I just executed is like the entire Ankh cutscene, except it doesn't play at all. Instead, it just gives him like the final outcome of the Ankh revive without playing the cutscene. That's interesting. That is just a cutscene cancel of some sort. It appears to be functionally identical. He should not have his teleporter in his hands, but he should have his jetpack. And that's exactly what happened here. This appears to be functionally identical to an Ankh revive, except the player entity doesn't like get teleported back. I wonder then what would happen if he got crushed on that frame by something that he couldn't like clip out of. That's so bizarre. There's one more thing I want to try with that, but it seems to just be like how the Ankh cutscene would normally play out, except he doesn't get teleported back to the entrance of the level. Is like the only difference I've noticed. So I'm going to try to crush him on that last frame by just putting him in a wall, and we're going to see if that does anything interesting, because if he revives in the wall, the game shouldn't be able to find a spot for him. Alright, so God mode off. Enter door. I'm going to put his player entity in the wall on that frame, and on the next frame, the game should detect him as being dead. Does he have Ankh? No, he doesn't have Ankh. I can just give it to him now, I think. Actually, I don't know if he'll pick it up fast enough. Let's just do this again. Alright, he has Ankh now. So let's get down to the last frame. All right, so put him in the wall. Actually, that jetpack is I'm gonna pull the jetpack off of him because it's gonna explode otherwise and maybe interfere with this. All right, he dies on this frame. He appears to still be alive. Like, the game didn't have time to, like, give him a second time, even though he's stuck in the wall. So he's still alive. Okay, so that doesn't... I mean, that's not a situation that would happen much. Like, getting crushed by Olmec is the only situation I could think of that would generally cause something like that, and it doesn't seem to change the outcome. He just respawns with 4 health when you do that. Interesting. So let's do it 1 frame earlier. Let's see, like, when the cutscene, like, plays out normally. So, God mode. Yeah, whatever, you have fun down there, dumbass. Alright, so let's play this out normally. 1 frame earlier. Elevator in a bad spot. Yeah, you could get yourself pinched against walls in a spot where you couldn't get out of the hole, but it doesn't seem to matter. So I don't care too much to look into that right now. So we're gonna kill him with an explosion again. God mode off. Give him an Ankh this time because I remembered for once. I'm gonna put this on the hotbar. We're using it a lot. No Ankh again. No. I got that one this time. I didn't need chat for that one. I figured it out. I remember. Alright, so... what frame is that gonna be? That's gonna be this frame, is the one we're gonna blow him up. Alright, so he's dead. I see the Ankh right there. Or no, that's the leftover pickup for the Ankh. Huh. You know what? I guess there's a delay, isn't there, on when the Ankh, like, actually plays the cutscene. Like, you move for a couple frames before the Ankh cutscene actually plays. So during that time, the game apparently sets you to full health immediately. So, like, the heart ticking animation doesn't seem to actually matter. So we're gonna have to try a few frames to see if we can get the one where the magic happens. So it's not so much that he wasn't teleporting back to the door or anything, it's that he was in that, like, that limbo state with the Ankh. Because I guess I could just show this on myself real quick, just to tell you what I'm talking about. Because, like, you've probably seen this before, just haven't thought about it much. So I die. My body moves, then the Ankh cutscene plays. Like a couple frames later. So we were skipping that entirely. Now it's worth noting that at this point I have 0 HP. When do I get that health back? Perhaps the game gives you the health back and then takes it away for the animation later, which is stupid, but we've seen a few things right now, so we already know that this game doesn't have a very high bar for what makes sense. So let's try this. So I die, I get booped, I'm still at 0, still at 0, still at 0. No, I'm still at 0 now. I don't know why the HUD was showing 4 earlier. I'm definitely at 0 health right now. Flashbang. Okay, I'm back at the spawn now. Still 0. I don't know what's going on here. Now it's doing it one at a time. 2, 3, 4. Why the fuck was the first one different than the others? Why does this game not make any sense? Why was the first one different? I have 4 health right now. 0. 0. I don't know what I saw that had 4 health, because now I definitely have 0 the whole time. Okay, well, we have to watch this again. Fast forward. Okay, let's go back. Let's just go back to the thing we were doing with the door and see if that gives us any better insight into what's going on here. So, God mode on, back to the door. So, Rafi's gonna die to an accident. God mode off. Give the Ankh. Go into the door. Player color. Alright, so we're gonna do it one frame earlier. That's gonna be this frame right here. Alright, so we're doing it like on 11. So he's dead, he moves for a couple. There we go. Okay, we got a last frame on cutscene before the fade out initiated. Rafi has 0 health now, like you would expect. I think it might be some kind of weird cancel, or maybe they actually had this edge case and they programmed for it. They obviously didn't test it very well because of the last frame Ankh thing, so I'm more inclined to believe that it's an accidental consequence of a cutscene skip. But now we actually have the Ankh cutscene playing. Which I unfortunately, I'm sorry chat, I had to frame advance through it because I need to see what happens during this frame. So avert your gaze. Yeah, this looks normal. Oh no, it's not. That was the tick right there. He got 4 health. That was the game tick I was talking about. The teleport tick actually gave him the 4 health instantly. God, I don't know. Yeah, he's fine now. Yeah, it's bizarre. That's what happens on that frame, apparently. I don't think I've ever seen that frame for the Ankh revive. God, that is bizarre. We may have to, like, cut this one off here because I'm not sure what is going on. We know that there is 1 frame of permadeath. Every other frame seems to be fine. We're gonna try one more frame, which is the next one on the line. But I think we're about done with this because there's not much more we can really conclude from it. I have a couple theories. I'm going to do the last one, and I'm going to state what my theory is, and then I think we'll move on if nobody else has questions about this. So if you have more questions about this, ask them now, because we're getting near the end here. Then I think I'll do like one more science subject and then end the stream. So we're going to kill Rafi 1 frame earlier during the exit, and we're going to see if anything different happens. But I have a theory for it. I'm just going to see what the outcome is here first. God mode off. Rafi has Ankh. I need to not miss it. This frame right here. Alright, let's do it. Ankh cutscene plays 2 frames before the level would have ended. Flashbang. And I do need to step through this slowly. Interesting. He got teleported. That's weird. He gets teleported and then the game tick executes. So there was 1 tick where he got teleported up to this area. That might have actually happened like off the books. That might have not have been an endy ticking frame. And then 1 game tick just executed because my colors just dropped by another frame. Now I think it's going to play the entire cutscene and then fade out. Yep, and there we go. The camera didn't even have time to get back down to the door. And then we fade out. Okay, so that's like the full window of things that can happen. I didn't count exactly how many frames it is. It's 1 frame of permadeath. And then it's like 3 or 4 frames of you just get your health back like a normal Ankh revive, but you don't actually see anything happen. 1 frame of getting teleported to the door, and then the game fades out, and then the next frames after that are the full cutscene plays, and then the level ends. So there's one frame that's really fucking bad, and then the rest of them are normal. So as for my theory for what's going on in this situation, let me think. I'm trying to put it in words here. What do I think is going on here? It could... God, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I don't have a good theory for it. My best theory for this is that maybe they actually tested this but didn't test it properly. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to go with that theory. My theory here is that if the Ankh cutscene is playing when the level ends, it is instantly resolved. Like maybe something, just some like special case in the code instantly finishes the Ankh like revive if the level ends, which would explain why it like doesn't try to teleport him to the door or anything. It just says, just bring this player back and give them 4 health, the level is ending. But the devs did not test one of the frames. That's my theory for what's going on here. It wouldn't put it past them. Like, an attempt was made because there is a 4 or 5 frame window where that can happen, and they might have actually run into that during playtesting, because despite how much I like shit talk this game, they probably playtested it. They just didn't playtest it much, but they probably playtested it enough to make sure that the Ankh worked, and they may have run into a scenario where somebody died at the end of the level and something really weird happened, and they tried to fix it by resolving the Ankh revive if the level ends during the animation or the cutscene or whatever, and they just missed a frame. That's my theory for what's going on here. That would explain why you just get the health back, but you don't get teleported to the door. Any questions about this before we move on? Alright, not seeing anything here. Alright, so I think we'll move on to the next section here. This has been interesting, and really all we've learned from this is don't die on that particular frame. Unfortunately, I don't think we've actually learned anything useful from this right now. We need to... you know what? No, hold on. No. Section's not over. One more thing on the section. Can turkeys spawn in the Hundun level? That is the only thing that we have not tested yet. My theory is no. Turkeys cannot spawn on that level. We're going to brute force it a little bit, and then I'm going to end the section. I forgot about that, but that would be our only chance to do the cutscene skip, because you cannot get a mount with the right ID in single player on the Tiamat level. And co-op is a joke anyways. So let's go back to the main menu, get rid of Rafi, test that scenario with a bit of brute force. This is not going to be definitive. It's just going to be statistical. But we're going to finish the Yang cutscene, or the Yang quest. And then we're just going to see if anything interesting happens. I don't think I've ever seen a turkey during Hundun, but I don't know for sure. So I'm more than happy to check this and find out that I'm wrong, because that would mean there is a TAS only, well, not quite TAS only, but mostly TAS only, like, weird AJE tech that you could do. Alright, so we're going to set the Yang quest to be all turkeys bought. We're going to zoom out our camera so we can just kind of get an estimate of how many turkeys are in these levels. And let's go to a few levels and just see what it looks like. I don't know if it's going to be very obvious or not. I already don't see any turkeys here, but it might be that... oh, maybe they only spawn later? I don't know, let's just go to jungle or something. This is the first place you would normally be able to see the effects of this. It's not looking very good, but I mean, it is just a statistical chance. Chad, I haven't seen a single turkey so far. I wonder if I should do the Yang quest correctly in case there's something else in the game state that controls this. Yeah, we need to talk about parallel universe. Well, I still want a parallel universe. Okay, I'm going to actually do the Yang quest just in case it matters. It shouldn't, but I'm going to do it normally just in case it matters, because there could be a flag somewhere that we don't know about. Alright, so here's one. Hey buddy, can I have this? Alright, there's our Yang quest. So we did that, we don't have to go into his treasure room, he doesn't care about that. Actually, I want to do this over here where he's less likely to get killed by random enemies. I don't think buying out that rope pile matters, but let's see. Yeah, he doesn't care about the rope pile as far as the quest status is concerned, but let's buy it anyways, just to make sure we're being thorough about this. I need some gold. And I still don't have enough money, do I? Alright, so we bought literally everything. You get the achievement without buying the ropes. I mean, I think we don't have to buy the ropes, but I'm going to do it anyways, because I don't want to mess this up. Could I do this by setting the chance to be higher in level files? I don't even know if turkeys are in the level files, or if they're like a special case or something, and I don't have an easy way to change the level files. And I could do stuff in Spelunky, there's ways to change like the spawn rates, but I don't know if that is going to be functionally equivalent to changing the level files. And it's I don't want to make like an assumption, so we need to keep this as vanilla as we can. We did the Ankh quest through to completion. We leave the level. I'm going to skip levels at this point, because it shouldn't matter. You don't have to meet Yang, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to go to just like Tide Pool and see if there are any extra turkeys, because it really fucking feels like there aren't. But it could just be like just luck of the draw. The statistics aren't very good for it. There's one over there, so I mean, it's sort of happening. Turkeys are generally very rare. So I'm not sure if I'm going to learn anything useful from this, or if I should just go to Hundun and just floor it. Just spam a bunch of levels, see what happens. So let's just do that. Alright, here's your coding stream for anybody who wanted this. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot here. On post-level gen, we are going to print the number of turkeys. And the current frame as well, so that I can actually see, like, when it bumps the line down. Alright, end type, it's mount turkey. That should do it. Yeah, I'll just print the number of endies that are a turkey in any level that I generate. So we will be able to see the number pop up, if it's possible. So I can test that on a few of these normal levels here. So if you watch the bottom left, it's hard to see it, but you're looking for anything but a 0. So like there's a 1, and there's a turkey in the level. There's another turkey. Nothing, 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 nothing. 2 turkeys. You all get the drill. So let's go to Sunken first. I'm pretty sure you can get turkeys in Sunken, but I kind of want to look at it real quick and see if it happens. I'm pretty sure it's possible. It's just a really, really, really rare spawn. Yeah, there's a turkey in Sunken. It's down there. So that can happen. You can get these in Sunken. I don't even think you need the Yang quest for this, because I'm pretty sure I've seen it enough, and I rarely ever do the Yang quest. But it's very uncommon. Now let's go to Hundun. And we can just spam the Hundun level over and over again and see if we ever see a turkey. Even if I miss the level that had the turkey, we just need a 1 to show up in that slot. You've only seen caveman mount turkeys. Well, I mean, that wasn't a caveman turkey. And I don't think pest control is running, so I mean, you literally just saw one that wasn't a caveman mount. Do I've got mud on? Yeah, I do. Yeah, we don't have pest control on, so yeah, that was a natural unmounted turkey in Sunken, so that can happen. We can check Eggplant World while we're at it, but this is not looking good for this level. Might be Yang only, it's possible. I don't know exactly what it does. My understanding was that it makes them 4 times more common, but I don't know if it also adds like a base like spawn to the levels that can have turkeys. Which again, I extremely highly doubt Hundun can have them, because I don't think I've ever seen it myself or with anybody else, and we have generated dozens of Hundun levels. So if it's possible on this level, it has a way lower spawn rate than the other ones. It's definitely not looking good right now. Alright, well, while I do this, let's think about this. I think Jay was the one who looked into the turkeys when finding like the randoms and stuff. I don't know if there's more to it than that. I believe the way it works is it spawns the mount and then it rolls a chance to put a caveman on the mounts, not the other way around. So like caveman spawns have nothing to do with it. It's the mount spawns that control it. And it's like a 1 in 10 or something to put like a caveman rider on the mount. It might be lower than that. But yeah, we're not seeing anything here. Somebody yell at me if you spot one that I missed, but this is reasonably conclusive to me that if this could happen, it's insanely unlikely. Like maybe you could find like a task seed that can do it, but it's not looking like it. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that this cannot happen. Even with the Yang buff. I wonder if Eggplant World can have turkeys. I'm gonna run a few Eggplant World spawns. Yeah, it's a disappointing development, but it doesn't mean we're completely out of options. We just don't know yet if there's a way to get something in with the right entity ID order. But in the future, we could discover something. Until then, getting a turkey into those levels is gonna be like a co-op thing. Unfortunately, like, co-op is not... Like, the reason you want to do that, I think, is because you want to do a cutscene skip. You want to skip the ending cutscene. Those categories are solo, like, pretty much entirely. Like, wherever it would be meaningful to do it, they're solo categories. Because in online co-op, you don't even go through the door, because you can't unlock the characters, so it's meaningless for AJE. So unfortunately, solo runs are really the only circumstance, solo AJE, where you want to skip the cutscene, or any category where you want to do the cutscene skip. Convince someone to do it. You could probably do it. It'd be kind of funny. I don't actually know what would happen in online co-op if you did that. It'd be very hard to do it. I'm not going to try to do it now. It's more stuff that you would just try like as a funny meme at the end of your run, to see like what the cutscene looks like in online co-op, but I'm guessing it plays out the exact same way. It most likely, you just have two ghosts in the cutscene, it immediately ends and skips to credits, and then you go to the rocket ship and there's just two player ghosts there, and then you go back to the main menu. So I would brace yourself for disappointment if you're going to go ahead and try that, but that's what I think would happen. I would love it if something more interesting than that happened, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Also, Eggplant World does not seem to have turkeys in it, which is kind of lame. I feel like they should be here. They're peaceful mobs if like you do the Ankh quest, but that's looking to be about it. I don't know if they can spawn in like Duat or anything. Oh, they can spawn in Duat, I think, because we just saw one. I saw the counter go up even though I didn't spot the turkey. So they can spawn in Duat apparently. Like, there's a few areas where you wouldn't think that they could show up, but apparently they can, because there's one right there. Yeah, you see Duat turkeys. Well, you saw one right now. Yeah, it's a disappointing development, to say the least. Maybe they could spawn here as well. Yeah, there's one here. I just missed it, but you can also get City of Gold turkeys. There were two in that one. It's hard to read the text. You know, there's one. I just want to get it on camera. There it is. So you can get City of Gold turkeys. Yeah, enjoy baby jail, dork. And yeah, anybody else wondering about a level that can spawn turkeys, or are we finally done with this segment? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like you can get a turkey in any of the levels leading up to a cutscene, except for 798, where you could get an Ice Caves crust turkey. But unfortunately, the Cosmic Ocean cutscene is the situation where this is not useful, because it doesn't save any time to kill yourself during that cutscene. Go figure. Like, the one time that it would have actually been helpful, the one level we can actually do it in, it's not actually useful for anything, because it doesn't save any time. But you can get crushed ice turkeys, or any mounts really, in the ice caves. So if you have an ice caves at 798 that happens to have a mount in the ice, you could do this trick with that. Or of course if you bring it in co-op. But again, you can do this in any of these levels in co-op, and that's just not helpful for AJE. So any other thoughts and questions, or can we move on? Ice mounts are different entities. Oh, you're right. Yeah, never mind. Ice mounts don't work. Yeah, they're a different entity. No, you're absolutely right. I forgot about that. They are like, and there's something in ice, actually. I forget what it's called. Item alive embedded on ice. Not in ice, on ice. And I think these are what the actual like source code for the game used for these enams. I'm not sure how they got them for Overlunky, but I think these are the actual names Like, there must have been a string table somewhere that had these in it. So yeah, you can't actually do it because this will spawn, like, the entity that is inside of it when it's broken. So never mind, you can't do it in Cosmic either. So far, it eludes us. It's co-op only. Until we find a way to get an entity with a lower ID than one player in these levels. Or get a mount with a lower ID than player 1 in these levels. So, okay, now I think I'm done with that train of thought. Any other questions? Alright, I think we're done here. Alright, moving on.